Hello, hello, hello. I'm here. You guys hear me okay? Hello, hello. All good? What is going on, everybody?
It's Super Smash Melee.
Oh no, don't listen to my videos. Okay. You guys like that chapter? First of all, we gotta sell. Okay, hold on. We gotta do some things first. Alright. First things first. You guys like the chapter? That's number one. Second thing, let's get the stream likes to 100 because we just nailed, not nailed, but okay. You guys don't have the full picture yet. So, a little bit ago, I put out a theory talking about how the world of One Piece is under the sea. Okay? What Vegapunk just said this chapter, if you go back and look at that video, how do I say this? Wait till... this video is pretty on point, in my opinion, with... I think it's very, very on point with a lot of what it talks about. Now, if you take what Vegapunk just said this chapter, about how the world is going to sink under the sea, wait till next week's video. Because, to me, there's like there's everything I talked about in that other video. The true world of One Piece is buried under the sea. I'm going to link that right here. There's what Vegapunk just said this chapter. So you slot these two things together. And then what's coming out this next Tuesday, I wrote it all yesterday, last night, once I was seeing the spoilers and everything like that. I think that's going to seriously, look out for next week's video. I'm so excited. This is probably the most excited I've been for a theory ever. I think that everything just clicks. It all just clicks. It all clicks into place. Watch out for next week's video. I'm pasting the other video here. We're going to say that this theory is a good one that I'm dropping right here. A good one that essentially clicks into exactly what Vegapunk's talking about this chapter. I already did a video about how the world of One Piece is under the sea. So I hope you guys, if you didn't get a chance to watch that, check it out now. See basically the full perspective of how it fits into what is going on with what Vegapunk's saying here. So yeah. Utrek, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 19 months. That's the other thing. Pirate King tier podcast just opened up submissions. So I'll be recording it by... You have over the course of the weekend to get your submissions in. So if you're not a Pirate King, you want to join Pirate King tier, you get access to the podcast. That means that this is like an hour and a half long podcast I do every month, where basically I respond to all of your questions, very, very in-depth. Submit your question. You can talk about anything, One Piece, other anime, manga, other movies, video games, life. I answer everything in there, right? That's the Pirate King podcast. It is a very long podcast. I think from everything I've heard, it is people's favorite podcast and form of content that I normally do. So if you want to become a Pirate King tier, you can join right now. You have over the course of the weekend to submit. If you're already a Pirate King tier member, just go submit. Make sure you get your submissions in and everything like that. Blue, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 19 months. Morj, imagine a panel where some celestial dragons have a pet cat that they're petting, and the cat gets up and turns out to be Lucci. Holy shit, that would be... I can't see them do Lucci like that. Just seeing him humbled in front of Mars was crazy to see in itself, but I can't see I don't want the Celestial Dragons to do him like that. I like Lucci as a character. I hope he's been humbled quite a bit this arc. I want him to retain some pride. I think that would have been so cool. It would have. Also, if I was Zeph, I would have ate Sanji. I don't agree with that part of what you said, but I can understand where you're coming from. Who knows? Nobody knows what they would act like if they were put in that situation, you know? If you're left on an island by yourself for a month, 3 months, I forget how long. You're starving to death, whatever. There's this child on the island with you. Keep in mind, this child tried to kill you earlier. I don't know. You get hungry enough, you do crazy things. You never know. I'm not advocating it. I'm just saying it's not out of the question for people. Justin Holland, thanks for the 10. For your flooding Earth theory being close to spot on, earned an extra 5. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Again, if you've not checked it out already, I did drop a video 8 months ago talking about the flooded Earth theory of One Piece. So, the true world being under the sea, the world being buried under the sea. I strongly urge you guys to check that out because I think a million things kind of click into place if you watch that. But also look out for next Tuesday's video where I bring the whole package together based on what Vegapunk just confirmed from us. 2. Luffy's battle IQ is based on how he harnesses his unique brand of chaos. Yes, I agree. I know a lot of people may... Well, I thought when I did the Stride battle IQ ranking, I thought a lot more people would disagree. But most people were kind of on board. I think the one thing that people said is that Chopper's too stupid to use his scope nowadays. I I take that. I understand it. At the same time, I'm like, well, I am trying to be consistent in that I didn't knock Robin for being too stupid to pull out her opponent's eyeballs. It's more so just Oda's not going to write it. It's not Chopper's fault that scope is too broken. Luffy being like top 3, top 4 in battle IQ on the crew, I think is about right. 3, reminder chapter, Straw Hats are an Emperor crew. Yeah, the Straw Hats went off this chapter, all of them, across the board, even the weak ones. Like, Robin wasn't even helping. It was Usopp, Nami, Chopper, Brook, all the characters who didn't really get 1v1s in Onigashima. I don't really count Nami versus Ulti. They all got to show out here. KC the MC, thanks for the 10. Now that everything sinks, this puts us in a position where we see the World Alliance against Imu. I think that drastically amps where the God's Knights are supposed to be in terms of strength. It depends, because I think the God's Knights are... There's a lot of factors, right? So we don't know where the Marines are going to fall at the end of all this, right? Like, what are the Marines going to decide to do? We don't know what the Marines' decision-making is going to be, and I think it's very interesting that we're not cutting to see any of the Marines right now, right? Because I think where they land on this is supposed to be up in the air. So that's one. So the Marines still technically exist as an arm of the world government. Whether they will continue to do so in the near future remains to be seen, right? But the God's Knights, I feel as though the God's Knights are being portrayed as a group that is a counterpart to the Revolutionaries, to fight against the Revolutionaries, so I imagine they themselves might be comparable to a Yonko caliber crew. Then on top of them, you've got the Gorosei. On top of that, you're going to have the armies of pacifistas, the Seraphim most likely. I don't think the God's Knights alone, and and Imu himself, and I think technically CP0 will likely stay on the side of the Celestial Dragons. I don't know. They might defect, just based on Lucci and Kaku's storyline here. They might defect as well. But even then, God's Knights, Gorosei, Seraphim, Pacifistas, Imu, I think the world government's, the Celestial Dragon side is still stacked. I do think the God's Knights as a whole should probably be about comparable to a Yonko crew. Comparable to the Revolutionaries. We'll see. Straw Chaco, thanks for the 5. Happy Friday, Buford. Okay, do you think it's interesting that the 2 living Roger pirates we know of are in places where the world flooding wouldn't affect them? It is kind of funny. I did see people talking about how Rayleigh Rayleigh was just like, he retired and he's like, you know what I'm going to get into? What seems like a good idea? Coding ships. I did see people talk about that on Twitter. I think that might be a good hobby to get into right about now. I think that's interesting. And Crocus and his whale situation is fucking hilarious, because he's like, man, when the whole world fucking floods, I'm just going to be inside this whale. Isn't there a Bible story about the whale? Bible whale. Jonah and the whale. Shit. Okay. Jonah, flooding, etc. Okay, cool. Let's see. Brook is the GOAT! Thanks. You must be happy with what Brook did this chapter. I wish it was highlighted a bit more, but he did cut off one of Saturn's legs, it looked like, in that big panel. Thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 3 months. Make sure you get your Pirate King podcast submission in over the course of this weekend. I'll say people have till like Monday. Morj, it doesn't look like Saturn is going to be defeated this arc at all. I honestly don't know why you're going with that idea. It's clear their job is simply try to escape, no extended 1v1. I do agree that it seems less and less likely that Saturn is going to be defeated, just because he's not being put remotely in the same area as characters that, that could defeat him, like Luffy. I do think, on the other hand, Kuma, a final possible sacrifice from Kuma or the Iron Giant, I do think those things are in possibilities for taking out Saturn. The biggest reason that I feel like Saturn being defeated this arc makes sense is just because he's the character that he is the main villain of this arc, right? The Gorosei overall have kind of supplanted him, but he was the personal villain. Like, this storyline really boils down to Vegapunk, Bonney, Kuma, their storyline in conflict with Saturn, right? He represents the other side of this conflict. He's the one that caused all this. It's the most personal with him. So I do feel like Saturn, also being the weakest Gorosei going down this arc, it just feels right, it makes sense to me. But at the moment, plot-wise, it doesn't seem like there's a mechanism for Saturn to be defeated. I don't think the weakest Strats are going to defeat him. I agree with that. Again, I think Iron Giant, Kuma, those things are still up in the air for this arc, and what their final things are, what their final choices, what their actions are going to be. The Outback Pandas, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 14 months. You think we'll make it to Elbaf by August of this year? No, just because the rate of breaks and everything like that, Oda could also hit us with another 3-month break. I wouldn't be, and I think we'll have some in-between time after we leave Egghead Island. So Feel like maybe the year ends, hopefully, with us hitting Elbaf. I think if we're lucky. If we're lucky. Sean Easton, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months. Thank you to whoever gifted me a membership. Sanji fans, me, are eating well this chapter. Yeah, this was a cool chapter for Sanji fans. I think I missed Blue's membership as well. I'll get you in a second. No, I got you. Yes, this was a great chapter for Sanji fans. I feel like this is one of the coolest moments Sanji's had in recent memory. He's had some good moments in this arc for sure. The Seraphim moment was huge. Blocking Kizaru's laser was huge. It's just that it immediately was followed up with him failing to save Vegapunk. So I feel like it kind of got overshadowed. But like swooping in and just taking on a character that most believe to be one of the strongest Gorosei, right? And it wasn't just like he swooped in. It seemed like he stops his blade and jumps up and kicks him, which is a big deal. Like, it's not just getting a hit in. It looks like he intercepts Venus Juro's attack and then kicks him, which I think is, I personally rate that really highly. Kuma self-destruct killing Saturn. I personally feel like something like that could be in the works. A sacrifice by Kuma, one final thing, just because that is ultimately, like, Kuma and Saturn is, like, Saturn's fucking fucked with Kuma since Kuma was, like, a little kid, you know? All the way up to the death of, like, the Bonney situation, Kuma's consciousness, I don't know. Deshaun Comedy, thanks a lot for the 5. Gorosei live on top of Red Line, Rayleigh coding ships, Iceberg floating island, Crocus living in a whale, Noah Ark, Shanks crew, No Fruit, Wano Walls, Tequila Wolf. You did just shove a shit ton of stuff in there. I promise a lot of what you talked about right there is going to be in next Tuesday's video, so watch out for that. Tequila Wolf is one that people were talking about on the timeline that I totally fucking forgot about. I completely forgot about Tequila Wolf, but it would make a lot of sense now if the world flood is something that the world government was kind of intending or trying to plan around. Frederick Leo, thanks a lot. What if the transponder is in York? I am not going to lie. In this moment, I'm kind of rooting for York, just because, I don't know, like, I think everyone's felt, I'm not rooting for York in the sense that I'm rooting for York, but it's just her emotions this chapter, I could resonate with them, because I think we've all been in a moment or a situation where it's just like, shit, something really bad is happening, like, I've pinned so much on this, something really bad is happening, but I can't remember where exactly, like, I put this thing or left it, like, you know what I mean, like, the stress of just, like, wait, think, like, where's this supposed to be, or what am I supposed to be doing right now? You know what I mean? Like, it's just like a very time crunch urgency scenario, and you're just really stressed because you should be able to know where something is or figure out what to do in a certain situation, but, like, you know, you just in the moment it's like, fuck, where did I leave those car keys or something like that? I really fucking need them right now. I feel bad for York. I'm like, poor York, she's like put so much time and planning into this. She's a Vegapunk. She should be able to figure out where Vegapunk's hiding the Den Mushi. Just feel like a little bad for her. I sympathize in this situation. This isn't a fun situation to be in. It's just like, fuck, like, it's all going down in flames. I just got to figure this shit out. PK Ziggy, thanks a lot. Samuel Harrod says, love the mini parallel with Mars/Punk Records/Lucci. Oh, I see what you're saying. With Mars looking up at Punk Records, much like Lucci was looking up at him a little short time ago. I think that's interesting. JWP, thanks for gifting a membership. I hope you enjoyed the chapter. The gifted membership, gifting another membership. Angel Rees, I feel like Angel Rees is like a regular recipient of these memberships. Bramjot Kokar, say thanks to JWP. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. Evil Friend, thanks for the 5. Just joined stream. Don't know if you talked about this yet, but I love the chessboard art this chapter. This is one of my favorite cover pages. Not cover pages, color spreads. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 200. This color spread is awesome. I love this color spread. Let me pull it up right now. It's definitely, how do I say this? It's one of those color spreads that I feel like, just conceptually, you know, I think just conceptually is one of the best ones that we've ever had. It's a little cluttered, But I don't think that matters considering how cool it looks. Also, I don't want to hear any more Jinbei, Sanji, Zoro. It's just Zoro and Sanji. It's just Zoro and Sanji, okay? Jinbei, closer to Frankie tier. I know that the color spread's not supposed to be power scaling, but I don't care. It's just, he's not there. He's not with him. It's Jinbei and Frankie. They're the rooks. Alright? You want some knights? You want 2 wings for the Pirate King? It's Zoro and Sanji. Get Jinbei out of there. JWP, thanks for the 5. Your ocean theory vid is gaining a lot of traction on Twitter. I forgot. I feel like we're not celebrating that enough. This is pretty big. Check it out. It is I linked it in the top comment, or whatever. I pinned the message. I strongly suggest if you've not seen that one already, go check it out, because I do think it is a huge insight into how much Oda has put into setting up, and this is a video from 8 months ago, into how much Oda has put into setting up the idea of the world of One Piece going under the ocean, being under the ocean. That is I feel like that is essentially, like, if you want to know what the One Piece is, I feel like watch that video essentially. And if you don't believe after watching that video what the One Piece is, wait till next Tuesday's video. Between that video, what Vegapunk just said, and everything that I wrote up and recorded last night, next Tuesday's video, I feel like a million things just fell into place. Watch next Tuesday's video. You will know what the One Piece is and how the story ends. Guaranteed. Watch next week's video. PK Ziggy says, Morj missed my message, lol. No, I didn't. You didn't have a message. The message didn't show up. I see the 5, but I don't see a message associated with it. Can anyone see PK Ziggy's message? Because for me, it's not showing up. There's no message there. It's kind of just blank. But you can tell me right here. Just tell me right here, and I'll catch it. Brook is the goat says rooks are greater than knights in chess, bro. I don't know my chess too well, but I thought that bishops and knights are considered equal. I think bishops are valued slightly higher than knights now, and then rooks or something like that. I might be wrong, but either way, it's not. I don't think this is about like strength necessarily. I think it's just about pairing. I'm saying strength is the comparison simply because they're both being called Luffy's knights. You know what I mean? Everything else is more so symbolic, as in, Brook and Usopp aren't stronger than, like Nami's the queen. That doesn't make her stronger than all the other pieces, or more valuable than all the other pieces. More valuable, I guess, is a debate. But, Nami's not stronger than all the other pieces. I'm saying symbolically what all of these characters are being depicted as. It's like, yeah, Luffy's the king. Chopper, he's these cute little pawns or whatever. And like Nami, the queen of the crew, that makes sense. And then you got Zoro and Sanji as the 2 knights, not Zoro and Jinbei, not Zoro, Jinbei, and Sanji is with like 3 knights or some bullshit. No, Zoro and Sanji are Luffy's knights. I'm saying symbolically what they represent. I'm curious. In chess highest value pieces, isn't it bishop? And then bishop is worth 3. Rook is the second most powerful piece? I'm an idiot. Rook is the second most powerful piece? It's 5 points. Bishop is 3. Knights are 2. I thought bishops are a better piece than rooks. What? Rooks are that strong? That's crazy. What? I had no idea. So what? What? This is blowing my mind, because if you had given me this like on a life or death, like you want to be a millionaire, not life or death, but if you'd given me this on like a quiz, like what the fuck? Rook is more valuable than either the bishop or the knight in most positions. That's crazy. I had no idea. Good thing I don't play chess. I would have been playing it totally backwards. I'd be like, fuck it, take my rook. I don't need it. I got all these knights. JFW, thanks for the 2. Adore Nami's moment. Caesar characterization 2. Caesar had his moment. I forgot about that. I want to see next chapter when we get all the big boys moments. Like, we didn't get exactly too many significant names just here. We didn't even see any of the Yonko, Marines, Revolutionaries, anything. Caesar is one of the more interesting ones. King G, thanks for the 2. Roger, we were too early holds a new meaning now. Yeah, a lot of shit's coming together. I'm so excited because this is just, I don't know. I feel like right off the bat, okay, so right off the bat, one of the big things I like about what we got from Vegapunk's message this chapter is that I think we, the reader, a lot of us were expecting... We didn't know what we were expecting, but one of the things that was a common consensus was that Vegapunk is going to tell the people of the world a lot of things that we, the reader, already know, but the vast citizens of the world don't know yet. I think that was a general sort of belief. Like, what's he going to tell them? Is he going to tell them about Emu? Is he going to tell them about, like, Lucia Kingdom, what happened there? Is he going to tell them about the truth about various things? Like, I think that was a lot of the assumptions that were going around. But what I love is that Oda built up to a reveal that was brand new information for everybody, including us, the reader, right? Who the fuck thought that Vegapunk's going to come out and say the world of One Piece is going to sink under the ocean? I did not think that Vegapunk was going to hit us with that. That is for sure. Bassam El Madawi, always good to see you. Maybe the Gorosei want to use the Mother Flame on every island with a poneglyph to cleanse the world. No, I'm not. I can't read the rest of your thing because I'll read it here, but just wait for next week's video. Using it once raised the sea already. Feel like the sea raised before and the other races gathered on Noah. I'm not saying I can't expand it all. Great comment. I can't expand it all on it just because you got to wait for next Tuesday's video. You just got to wait for next Tuesday's video. But I can't expand it all on what you're... Wait for next Tuesday's video and you will get a 25-minute expansion on the things you just mentioned. But I do appreciate the comment and the support for sure. Also, let's get the stream lights up to 200. Caleb Brown, thanks for the 5. Could it be that the sea god / sea spirit mentioned when devil fruits were explained is mad and slowly consuming the world? Maybe the ancient kingdom knew. I mean, that's an interesting idea, but I don't personally think that that's what it is. I'm still on the train of things like sea god, sun god, etc. If anything, if they show up in the story, it will be more so as devil fruits, as, you know, the manifestation of people's imagination than anything. Frederick Leo, thanks for the 5. Seriously, Vegapunk could presciently have installed it in her, knowing she would be spared if she betrayed him. The Gorosei would never think of it. That would be really, really, really cool. And they can't kill her because they obviously need her for the Mother Flames. So it would be the perfect Vegapunk, like, 10,000 IQ chess play. Imagine how smart Vegapunk actually is, because we're already, like, all enamored with how huge his head is and he's split his consciousness among so many bodies, but it's like, no, this was like a tiny fraction of it. The real mother load is way up there. I think Punk Records just became so much cooler with this reveal. Mr. MMF2, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 19 months, man. After enduring all the past L's, we finally got a classic Morj W. Also, no way Robin remembered Saturn's voice after more than 20 years, LMAO. I don't know. I don't have the PTSDs. I am happy about the W because it is a really, really big W in my opinion. Again, watch next week's video and I think it'll just complete the whole sandwich of ideas here. I do think that this is a big one to be proud of just because, you know, it goes to what is the One Piece itself? What is the end of One Piece? Like, what's it all about? What is this whole shit? What's this whole shebang about? Like, what are we reading? What's the conclusion of the story? So I do think that this is a really, really big one. I'm happy that, as far as I know, I'm like the first one on YouTube at least to put out like a really, really big comprehensive theory on it. So yeah, definitely check it out if you want a refresher on some ideas. But next Tuesday's video, I think we'll just bring it all together. I'm very excited for next Tuesday's video. No way Robin remembered. Yeah, I think just, I don't know. I don't know how PTSD works. Maybe it works in a really, I don't know. Maybe that's how PTSD works. I don't know enough about PTSD. Let's just say that's how that works. I don't know. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 5. If the Celestial Dragons are living on the Red Line, then they aren't responsible for the flood, which means Enel might do something. Maybe he awakens and makes a huge storm. No. I'm gonna leave... I don't think that that's the case, although I think a little bit of what you mentioned of what Enel did in Skypiea foreshadows how things are going to play out in the Blue Sea, but I'm not going to expand any further. You got to wait on next Tuesday's video. Where are we at? Okay. Daniel Allen, thanks for the 5. Dropped a 2001 comment for the Pirate King podcast. I think you'll have fun answering. Love the content peak chapter. What he's referring to is 2001: A Space Odyssey, which is my favorite movie. And yeah, I answer all sorts of questions on the Pirate King podcast, including movie-based questions, things like that. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks a lot. I hope Brooks' ice stops Saturn's leg from regenerating. If that was the way it worked, I think that'd be almost too simple, so I don't know if that's how it's going to work, but let's see. Might be a good counter to it. JWP, thanks for the 10. This is directed at King G. I think the One Piece is only possible to be taken/used once it's submerged, and Roger found it while it was still on land. Joy Boy left the One Piece and left the Noah. I'm not going to talk at all about Noah here or anything like that, or what Joy Boy left behind, but I'm always going to lean towards One Piece not being an item or something like that, but I'm now leaning towards, these days I lean towards One Piece being a vast stretch of interconnected land, but I've also believed that the One Piece could be a vast stretch of interconnected ocean. Again, watch the video that I linked above for elaboration. Lewis Summers, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 14 months. Do you think Emu having some sort of ocean/water fruit and directly raising sea level is more likely now? I definitely think that's possible, but I don't think he would need that in order to raise the sea level based on clues that we already have in the story. Again, next Tuesday's video. JP, thanks for the 5. Don't let this message distract you from the fact that Chopper's guard point has finally returned after 500 chapters. Let us hope that he uses brain point and scope again at some point, because that ability is so cool. If you go back and... When I was making the Straw Hat Battle IQ video, and I was going back and just reading past Straw Hat fights, I was just like, Chopper had one of the coolest fucking abilities in the story. Like, period. Scope is badass. Scope is a cool ability. It's just not used anymore. It's the fastest, it is the fastest problem solving in terms of combat that any character in the story has displayed. It would be so cool if other characters could use scope. D-La Joyboy, thanks for the 10. Thoughts on Brook doing permanent damage to Saturn by interacting with the soul on some Jujutsu Kaisen shit? Hey, we don't delve into bullshit Jujutsu Kaisen shit here, that's for sure. But I think the soul being important has become more and more relevant recently. I mean, Big Mom and the soul. It was even kind of discussed with, now we're kind of flirting with the idea of consciousness, death, etc. between Kuma and his loss of consciousness, and Vegapunk, whether he's truly dead or not yet here. I mean, his heartbeat is dead, but consciousness, Mars was speculating it on this chapter. I do think that that's interesting. Also, Momo not opening the borders makes more sense after this chapter. Yeah, we're leading to something bigger. Stormfox, thanks for the 5. Very telling that they care about the Mother Flames than the message coming out. They must be full-on kill the world mode. Yeah, because they were all... Even before any of this shit, right? Even before any of this shit started with the Vegapunk, you can go back to 2 chapters. You can go back to 808, 809, 808, where they're talking about the Great Cleansing. And you can go back to... Fuck, what was it? It's the chapter... It's the final chapter of Sabo's whole flashback, where they're discussing how they're going to use the weapon, and they're talking about how they want to use it. They just want to start using the weapon freely from here on out. So at the end of the day, while Vegapunk's message getting out is bad, it would just accelerate the timeline of them doing what they already intended to do, which is blow up the world, sink the world, etc. Right? So the Mother Flames are ultimately technically higher priority from what it looks like. Where to you, man? Thanks for the 2. Chopper used armor point. Crazy battle IQ? Discuss. Chopper, I think, has low battle IQ unless he is using brain point or scope, in which case he has the best battle IQ. So he's on one of 2 ends of the spectrum in that sense. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300 real quick. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. My theory from a bit back that you didn't read. What? No. Included that One Piece is a colossal ship. I'm sorry if I didn't read it. Feeling more confident now in it than ever. That is an interesting idea. I will say that a colossal ship does already exist in the story. But I do think that is an interesting idea. I'll say this. I do think that by the end of the story, Frankie building Pluton is going to happen. Jing Freaks, thanks a lot. Let's turn the world upside down. What did Roger mean? I wouldn't read too much into that. I feel like that was that's a turn of phrase. I don't think Roger knew all the histories of the world and the poneglyphs and stuff then. I really do think that Roger learned most of that over the course of his journey to Laugh-Tale and at Laugh-Tale itself. So I think it was crucial there. I think that was just a turn of phrase right there. That Oda may have written in with a double meaning, but I don't think Roger had a double meaning there. Dealer Joyboy, thanks to the 5. And Le Washed Lames potentially swept puts a smile on my face. I don't want to talk about the Lakers and LeBron right now. I went into the series thinking that they had no shot. Like, genuinely. I was one of the people advocating that they tank, play the Thunder, like lose their first play-in game, win the next play-in game, and play the Thunder, and just try and make it, because I think that they've got a better shot, hoping that some other team that matches up better, like say the Timberwolves, take out the Nuggets on the way up, than the Lakers having to play them round 1. I think no matter what, if the Lakers played the Nuggets, be it round 1, Western Conference Finals, they would just lose. So I was of the opinion, I was like, no, just try and drop your play-in game, win the next play-in game, and then try and make a run to the Western Conference Finals. Hopefully by that point the Nuggets have lost, or maybe the Nuggets have had a rougher route there than you. I don't know. And people were like, no, that's a losing mentality. That's a losing mentality. Winners want to play everybody. It's like, no, you fucking morons. Strategy is a thing. People only said that because they genuinely believed in their hearts that the Lakers could beat the Nuggets. I never believed that the Lakers could beat the Nuggets, so I never had that bullshit mentality. Anyway, Stormfox, thanks for the 2. I don't think the Ancient Kingdom were the good guys. I think they were the good guys. I think that Oda's always been pretty consistent with this. Anytime there's this storyline, like you go to Dressrosa, it's like Doflamingo deposes the old ruling party, ruling royal family, etc. Like the Riku family were the good guys, right? Crocodile tried to depose the Nefertari family and make himself the new king of Alabasta by slandering them and tearing down their name and everything. No, the Nefertari family were the good guys. Generally, Oda is pretty consistent with, he likes the angle of good guys who get unfairly maligned, who get overthrown by bad guys. Bad guys do a lot to unfairly malign and slander the previous good guy's name and make themselves the new good guys. And then at the end, the truth comes out. I mean, same with the Kazuki and Wano, right? They're trying to teach, because Orochi took over and he's trying to teach that, Odin was evil and everything like that. He's trying to teach that in schools. Oda just likes this type of storyline. Good guys ruling justly, being good people, etc. Bad guys rise up, they overthrow the good guys, and then the bad guys spread a bunch of propaganda about how they're all good and the previous party, they were secretly evil, or trying to erase them from history, right? Oda just likes the angle of exposing the truth. No, there were some really good people who used to rule, and we need to get back to the way things were. That's just the way One Piece goes. Is it that, I don't know. Is it that edgy or anything like that? Nope. It's just the way that Oda likes to write the story. Do you think Gorosei immortality can kind of work like Basil Hawkins' Devil Fruit? If they got Basil Hawkins' regeneration, then they're fucked. Where when he takes damage, others take it. Maybe when Gorosei takes damage, it's given to the slaves they own. That would be sick. Not sick in a cool way, oh, fuck those slaves, but that would reflect so much of the Gorosei, who they are, how they do. How do you beat them, though? Because it's kind of man, if I'm going to beat these Gorosei, I got to be ready to, kill off literally hundreds and thousands of slaves, whatever it takes. I guess maybe breaking the bond or something like that. The thing is that the Gorosei don't seem that strong. How do I say this? The Gorosei seem almost too fragile if you remove their regeneration. Warkiri is the only exception, in that Warkiri is literally the physically toughest character ever shown in the story, right? There's no one that compares to him. Luffy's not hitting a Lunarian and hurting his fist. Luffy's not hitting Kaido and hurting his fist. I don't think there's any other character that Luffy's going to hit with advanced armament haki and hurt his fist aside from Warkiri. I just don't think that's a thing. However, the other Gorosei, Saturn, again, I always say this, Saturn bruises like a peach. A fucking, I don't know, a soft wind could cause Saturn some blood damage or whatever, right? Bonney shows up, not using any sort of attack or anything like that, just shows up and fucking stabs him with a sword and he has a stab wound now, Any character can damage Saturn. It does not matter who you are. Now, Saturn's on one end of the spectrum, Warcury's on the other end of the spectrum, but it seems like even someone like Venus Juro, who a lot of us feel is one of the strongest Gorosei, Sanji is obviously a very, very strong character. He did a lot of damage to Venus Juro with that just one kick. Obviously, they all regenerate, so it doesn't matter. But my point is basically, if you remove their regeneration, then it seems like all of them are fairly susceptible to damage outside of Warcury. Warcury is the only one that's still a tank, even without regeneration. So I think the regeneration is almost necessary for them to be threats. Like top-tier threats, or close to top-tier. Broush, thanks for the 2. Vegapunk on Good and Evil confirms Kizaru turn. Yeah, his speech about, like, his angle of, like, I don't know who killed me, or what type of person they are, I'm not judging that. I'm very, very, very interested in the future of Kizaru here. Very interested. I think Kizaru's low-key, like, the most interesting character in terms of writing right now in Egghead Island, at least in terms of potential. Whether it pans out or not, we don't know. Casey the MC, thanks for the 5. Does this confirm that Joy Boy let everyone drown? Well, I don't think it was up to him. I think that he wasn't able to prevent what happened to the world in the past. RPG 901, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, I have the power to change One Piece, and I will make Kuma live unless you speak about Tuesday's video right now. Great videos, BTW. Thanks a lot. I hope you have enjoyed the content so far. Definitely look out for next Tuesday's video. I unfortunately don't believe that you have the power to change One Piece. So I will not be spoiling next week's video here. But I do think, I don't know. I think it just connects everything, personally. Between the last video I did, that I've pinned up above, and next week's video, I think it just connects. I personally, I'm going to go ahead and say, like, I think it just connects the full story of One Piece from here on. MPA Slick, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 18 months. Senor Morgan Freeman, how have you been? If the world is sinking, and Oda has confirmed the One Piece to be a physical reward, it can't be land, etc. No, land is a reward. Land is, like, the most... forget the world of One Piece. In the real world, like, land itself is the most valuable shit that exists, period. Countries, that's where land is so fucking valuable, it's insane. Land is, like, more valuable than gold, more valuable than diamonds, etc. Land is a reward. If someone told you that, hey, your reward for I don't know, for accomplishing this or something like that is, like, your own fucking continent, that's a reward. Like, land is a treasure. I think back in the day when I believed that One Piece, I still believe in the destruction of the Red Line, but I used to believe that the finale of One Piece, like, the true treasure was the sea, like the all blue that forms after the Red Line is destroyed. But now it's one step further in that the Red Line is destroyed, the water level's lower, and a full interconnected piece of land is revealed. That is stronger as a treasure to me than just the ocean, simply because the ocean, it does already still exist in a very vast sense, right? Whereas land in One Piece is few and far between. It is all split up and scattered into islands. For the whole world to now be able to access this giant world of land, it is a treasure that is truly for everybody. Like Roger's final words are, my treasure, you want it, it's yours, I left it all in one piece. He's leaving the world his treasure. It's a treasure that is meant for the world to have and share. I think it's not just for, because it can't just be a treasure for Luffy and the Straw Hats, right? It can't just be a treasure for Luffy and the Straw Hats, because Luffy himself doesn't really care about the treasure, if it's gold, whatever. For him, it really is more so the journey and the sense of accomplishment and the wonder of finding it. So the treasure has to be something that changes the world and brings the dawn to the world. I think a giant interconnected mass of land is the answer to that. And on top of that, yeah, the sea I could see not being a satisfactory, like, physical reward at the end of the day, because it is ultimately just open ocean, which we already have a lot of. But land, I think land is undeniably a physical reward for everybody. And I would call back to Skypea, Shandia, all that shit, right? What was the treasure that everybody ultimately, like, Skypea was such an interesting arc because the traditional treasure was gold, right? That was what the Straw Hats were interested in, gold, right? For the people of Skypea and Shandia, they didn't give a shit about gold. For them, the treasure that everybody there was fighting over was land. And land was the treasure that was ultimately given back to all of the people of the White Sea once God was defeated. So I think the precedent is set in a very, very concrete way, at least in my opinion. I I do think a giant, massive, interconnected land being the final answer to One Piece is the most beautifully fitting conclusion to this epic that you could possibly have. More than any sort of other physical, tangible reward. At least as far as I can see it. Stefan Green, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 3 months. The people want to know if the Wano analysis will fail. Also, huge W on your theory. Congrats, well deserved. Thank you very much. No, the Wano analysis will not fail. I believe I can get it out before Egghead ends, I think. Unless Egghead it wraps in like 2 chapters or some shit. And yeah, thanks. I definitely think this is the biggest theory that I've ever gotten correct. At least, there's still more pieces of it that need to fall into place. But at least what happened this chapter suggests that the way things are going to play out is very, very close in line to what I theorized in that video. And I'm happy about that because that is, that's a theory about the One Piece itself, which is the biggest mystery in the story that we're all trying to figure out. So I am happy about that. JP, and again, watch out for next Tuesday's video. That video, it needs next Tuesday's video for it all to come full circle. JP, thanks for the 10. Is it a stretch to say that the Roger Pirates are positioned for a submerged world? Rayleigh with his coding, Crocus living in Laboon, Shanks' crew having no devil fruit users? I think I saw something like that floating, like some speculations like that floating around. I do think Rayleigh with his coding, that is interesting. It also just, you can read into that in different... I think a lot of that just conveniently sort of falls into place where it's like, that does make sense. I think Crocus and Laboon, that could ultimately just be that's a cutesy thing that Oda wrote. Like, he was going to have Laboon, he was going to have Crocus or whatever, have Crocus live inside the whale. That calls back to old story, like Pinocchio and Geppetto and stuff like that. Or that Bible story, And Rayleigh being a ship coder, I do think that makes a lot of sense. That it works in both ways, but at the same time, I think ultimately Oda needed, plot-wise, for there to be a character that would coat their ships for them, and that's a good way to introduce Rayleigh. Because he needed to have Rayleigh show up at Subodhi, so that's kind of the rule that he set up for Rayleigh. So I wouldn't read too much into that necessarily. Shanks' crew having no devil fruit users, I do think that also just makes sense. I could see it. I could definitely see it. It's also just like the vibes of each crew. Like Oda's just like, I want these guys to be hockey-based. I want these guys to be Zoan-based. I want these guys to be food-based. I don't know how much of it is coincidence versus intent. EHB, thanks for the 10. Morj, Luffy's dream is to explore the Bottle of the Sea. The Bottle of the Sea as well as Roger's? Explore the Bottle of the Sea. This is why Roger said the Bottom of the Sea. This is why Roger said he wished to have lived in Joy Boy's time. One Piece can help Luffy to fulfill this since the sea level will be low. That is interesting, but I think we would have gotten more out of that when Luffy visited Fishman Island. I think that would be like a wild dream, but it also would be a dream that's not really based on anything, I guess, other than maybe just like really, really wanting a sense of freedom or something like that. I don't know. Like, I want to be so free I can explore the bottom of the ocean. I could maybe see that. I don't know. I don't know about that. Storm Fox, thanks for the 2. Then why did Lily only leave after the war? What is this in response to? Did you ask a previous question that this is piggybacking off of? Let me do a quick search. One sec. Hold on. Let me find you. Oh, I don't think the Ancient Kingdom were the good guys, is what you said. Then why did Lily leave after the war? But Lily also betrayed Emu, right? So there could be multiple things that are going on there, such as being a double agent, right? Lily could have been a ruler of her own kingdom that got pulled into the world government or something like that. Lily might have been tricked. There's a lot of things that could have happened, but Lily did betray Emu and then carry out a lot of Joy Boy's will, which was, scattering the poneglyphs, leaving the Will of D, all of that stuff. So we don't know the details of what happened, but we do know that ultimately Lily took actions that would be in favor of the Ancient Kingdom and help bring about the will of the Ancient Kingdom rather than against it at the end of the day. Basim El Mudawi, thanks for the 2. The Gorosei are like Majin Buu, bad durability, OP hacks. So I think that what everyone still wants to see out of the Gorosei is just more offensive ability. I think that's what everyone's still waiting on. Like, we've seen cool shit, like Venus Juro blitzing all the pacifistas on the island, like, really quickly. Although the second half took 9 minutes, just because, I guess, plot reasons, I don't know why. But he initially did it really fucking fast, right? Venus Juro doing that, Workery releasing a lot of Conqueror's Haki, Mars has some energy beams and things like that. We've seen that, but I think we ultimately need more. Like, let's see Workery use some advanced Conqueror's Haki or something like that. We nowadays, we expect advanced Conqueror's Haki out of the top tiers, or at the very least, some really OP Devil Fruit offensive abilities, right? Like Kizaru might have. So we still need that, because the durability, the regeneration, that stuff is amazing. But Majin Buu also had, like, he was a really just straight up powerful fighter. We haven't really seen the Gorosei box with Luffy or anything to any degree for any period of time, right? The fight so far has been written in a very... Oda's kind of skirting the issue. Like, how, like, if we just made Luffy stand, like, not stand, but like, stop running away, stop trying to get away, Luffy just has to fight them. Like, fight one of them like he's fighting Kaido or something like that. How does that fight look like? Is Luffy fucking them up the entire time? Or do they get a lot of their own hits in? Do they have really good offensive abilities as well? It's hard to say. On paper, they could. Venus Juro has speed and ice and everything like that. Mars has energy blasts and, like, really powerful Haki, at least according to Jinbei, like unreal Haki. Workery seems to have crazy strong Haki and physical toughness. Let's see that in terms of, like, his actual physical fighting. Like, let's see him actually throw punches or whatever the fuck he's going to do against Luffy, at least in hybrid form. I don't know what he does in boar form. But I think that's what people still want to see. Right now, we just are getting the clear idea that they, in theory, have good hacks. Some of them don't. Like, Jupiter, I can't really tell. Saturn so far feels very gimmicky to me in terms of his ability set. He just feels like very fragile in actual physical combat. But the potential, I think, is still definitely there for a lot of the Gorosei to be really, really strong. We just need to see a little bit more, you know? Let's get the stream lights up to 300 real quick. JWP, thanks for the 5. I like how Oda showed Marines actively listening to Vegapunk's message. Also, Workery's yokai is said to have an undamageable hide that blocks all attacks. Interesting. Hold on. It just sucks that the Bakotsu, like the horse, and the Itsumade, I can't really... There's not much details on any of it. But I'm just curious why Oda chose to play it straight with, like, the Ushioni and whatever the fuck Workery's thing is called again. Is it the Gyuki? Maybe it's called the Gyuki, I forget. Why he chose to play it straight with those, and then for the others he went, like, very obscure, like, kind of made up almost. The Itsumade... It's very, very brief information on it. It's almost non-existent. And then the Bakotsu is just not even a thing. And then the Sandworm is just some random-ass shit that he pulled from Dune. So it just makes you... I know we all, like, suck off Oda for planning everything as seen by this chapter and all the foreshadowing that's gone into the reveal at the end of this chapter. But then at the same time, sometimes he just was like, you know what's some cool-ass shit to throw in? That shit from Dune. Yeah, so it looks like Workery's thing really is going to be the durability, but not necessarily everybody else. D. LaJoyboy, thanks to the 5. Boar skulls are notoriously hard, sometimes even deflecting bullets. Yep, same thing that JWP was saying, and the yokai itself seems to be based around that. So that seems to be Workery's thing. Like, they all have their own sort of hacks, right? Like, let's say Venus Juro is the example. Speed, ice, that's his thing. And swordsmanship, which is whatever category you want to put it. But Workery's, it does seem to be just the physical toughness, right? That's his thing. But if you exclude Workery, the rest of the Gorosei do so far seem to be easy to damage. I think Mars is the only one that we have not seen take a hit yet. John678, thanks for the 2. Dilo was more unclear than Egghead Kizaru yesterday. I don't know what's wrong with that dude. He even talked shit after the end of, like, the presser at the end of the last game. Not talk shit, was just like, yeah, I can do this shit when, like, I'm ready or like on it or something, or I turn the switch on. Not in those words. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. The presser at the end of Game 2 I'm talking about. And then Game 3 comes out and shits the bed. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Maybe the end of One Piece has every character give up their lives for a better world. The people who come after have freedom to make a better world. Give up their life? You think everyone dies? You mean lives in, like my life, like, oh, I live in an apartment and I do this stuff or whatever, like your life, like the stuff you do, like, you know, I'm gonna give up my life and like like that sense, or like your literal life, as in I will kill myself. I don't know about that. I don't know about the second one. Dick so small, I piss on my balls. Thanks for the 5. Check it out. If the One Piece is a colossal ship, anyone can get on board to chase any dream they have, as it forever sails the all blue seas without the red line. Yeah, but then you're also stuck on a ship that's only going one direction, which means you need to share the same adventure that everybody else wants to do. I think people would want to go in different directions. So it's actually probably the most limiting thing that you can do. But I'm not going to say anything more about a giant ship just because it plays into what I want to talk about in next Tuesday's video. I think I missed you. Juni02, thanks for the 5. Do you still think Emu could be Jormungandr related? There's a sea-based snake woman yokai called a Nureona. Sounds like Nerona, Emu's last name. Let me look that up. Nureona. Nureona. Let's see. Yeah, it is reptilian. What is it? Oh, they're paranormal phenomenal at the sea. They consume humans. What do they do? It's used by Ushioni. So I don't know about that. It seems like a subordinate type creature. It doesn't seem powerful enough from what I can read to be the end game villain. I think an Umibozu makes more sense. Jormungandr, I'm going to stick to the belief that Emu has powers over the earth to some degree, but not necessarily that it has to be Jormungandr. Might be Umibozu, something like that. Marcel Beans, thanks for the 5. There were crack and snap sounds when Nusjuro bit Sanji, so his bite alone seems stronger than any of Sanji's old opponents. That would be crazy. If Venus Juro actually like started breaking Sanji's bones. Is Sanji's eyebrow, how's his eyebrow working? Can somebody tell me, is his eyebrow this chapter flipped or not flipped? Confirm or deny, Sanji's eyebrow, how's it looking? Yami says I missed a super. I'm still catching up on supers, but let me make sure I didn't miss. I'm going in order as far as I can, as best as I can do. Unless yours was a bit. Oh, I missed yours. Yami says Chopper uses scope on Saturn. I think Chopper using scope on Saturn would be amazing if he's the one that if Chopper is the one to actually figure out the Gorosei's weakness. That would be like the greatest redemption for him after doing jack shit in Wano. I guess the Ice Oni bullshit, but I give him no credit for that. Just because I think that whole plotline was stupid. He's in base. It's flipped, not flipped. Okay, then never mind. Okay, not flipped. So that was Sanji in base mode. So nothing to scale off there. But that means that Sanji kicked him pretty well. Like, he did pretty well in base mode. His exo is still active. Can somebody confirm? I don't know if the... Is the exoskeleton active or inactive when his eyebrow is not flipped? I thought the whole point of flipping the eyebrow was that's when his Germa powers kick in. Because what else is his Germa powers outside of the exoskeleton? Isn't it just the exoskeleton? Jing Freak says, I missed your first super. Let me check. One sec. I know I caught it. Oh, let's turn the world upside down. No, I talked about that one. Is there one before that? Oh, there was one before that. What a time to be a Sanji fan. Feels unreal as fuck. Yeah, Sanji kicking a Gorosei without having his exoskeleton on or anything like that. There's no definitive answer to that. We don't know if his exoskeleton is active in base mode. See, the thing is, like, with the eyebrow flipping, as far as I know, the only thing that it does is turn on the exoskeleton, right? Because it's not like he's getting other superpowers like his brothers, you know, like sparking red and like lightning and poison and shit. So it has to be the exoskeleton. What else is it, right? So I'm gonna assume that it's not that. Okay, we'll wait for the next chapter to see if he flips. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 300. We're almost right there. Okay, let me catch up on supers. Continue catching up. Catching up. Joseph eBay, thanks for the 5. Morj, my guy, I'm crying with you. I'm a Houston Rockets fan, but One Piece related. Is the One Piece a plunger since the world will be sunk with water? No, I don't think the One Piece is a giant plunger, but I do think that's very funny. And I'm sorry that you're a Rockets fan. June. No, we covered this. Marcel. No, we covered Marcel Beans. Covered this. Usoppin. Thanks for the 5. Morj, do you think Usopp is getting a buff soon? If so, how do you think it'll scale? I think Usopp's buffs are always near impossible to scale just because he should lose. Like, his fighting style is so tactics based that it's just Oda can have him defeat characters that are so much, like, put it this way, like Usopp could beat, you know, like he could help Chopper, like he and Chopper as a duo could defeat Mr. 4, the Mr. 4 duo, but then a short while later Usopp just gets beat up by the Frankie family. Right? That's a little example pre-time skip, but it kind of carries over. Like, Usopp can beat Perona, but it requires a very elaborate situation to play out. You know what I mean? Like, he could beat Perona, but it's also like, well, if you just threw someone else random at him, he might just lose to them. Even now, post-time skip, I think it's really fucking hard to scale Usopp. Like, for example, Usopp got fucked up by Treble. I wonder at what point Usopp would be able to beat Treble. It's hard to say because it's like, well, maybe if he had enough time and strategy, he might have been able to beat Treble back then in Dressrosa itself. It's just really hard to scale Usopp. I think the major power-up he could get, if he doesn't pick up any tech from the lab, would be in Elbaf. And I would hope that it's more so hockey-based than improving his tech, just because I feel like the point of giving Usopp these plant-based weapons is that plants are weak but versatile in theory. So I like the idea that from here on, it's on Usopp to improve himself as a fighter with observation hockey, things like that, rather than getting just more powerful weapons. I like that idea, but I don't know if that's going to necessarily be the case. It's however Oda wants to improve him. Ectrolato, what's up, man? Gorosei are mid, stop hyping them, please. I mean, I think some of them are mid, like Saturn and such, but I think others have potential. Like, if you're thinking... Like, I'll just put it this way. If the Gorosei are meant to be Zoro and Sanji's final opponents, like let's say Venus, Juro, and Mars, then they're not mid. They're going to be some of the strongest characters in existence, right? So, yeah, I don't think all the Gorosei are that strong necessarily. I think, you know, Saturn, again, I'll use him as the weaker end. I think Jupiter has not impressed so far. But I think that if Mars and Venus, Juro are supposed to be endgame opponents for Zoro and Sanji, if Warcury is supposed to be an endgame opponent for, like, I don't know, Dragon, or maybe, like, even, I know some speculation, like, maybe Akainu's supposed to beat him or something like that, these are supposed to be really fucking strong characters. So, I don't know. We're guessing a lot based on what we think what role they might be set to play. Titanium Dragon, thanks for the 5. Emu has to be a World Serpent because when Luffy punched him, it would be a parallel to punching the Lord of the Coast and Kaido. I will say that Luffy and beating up these giant snakes, it is a thing. Luffy starting the story punching a giant serpent, I think is pretty fucking cool. I do think that there is some possibility to that being a setup for what Luffy's supposed to do at the end of the story. Marcus Perez, thanks for the 2. Had faith that Sanji wouldn't just be a hype tool. Yeah, he wasn't. Not this chapter. I think it's fucking hilarious that Oimo and Kashi are trying to get involved there. Like, you guys lost to Pauly. And, like, randoms from, like, Galila Company and the Frankie family. So, what do you think you're doing trying to handle a Gorosei? Let Sanji and Bonney take care of it. I suppose Bonney, we'll see what she does next chapter. Brooke is the GOAT, thanks a lot. Yo, Morj, and Frankie's there too. Yo, Morj, I do agree with you that Zoro and Sanji are the wings of the Pirate King and the most important characters after Luffy. But Jinbei is more closer to Zoro and Sanji than to Frankie. Stop underrating him. So, I'll say this. You're right, I do think that Jinbei is closer to Zoro and Sanji than he is to Frankie. However, I think just based on progression over the course of the story, by the time all is said and done, at the end of the story, Frankie will be Jinbei will be closer to Frankie than Zoro and Sanji. Reason being, Zoro and Sanji, their trajectory is like, at the end of the story, Zoro's going to be stronger than Mihawk, right? By the end of the story, Sanji will have beaten one of these Gorosei very likely, Mars, Venus, Juro, something like that, right? Jinbei's not there, and he's not magically going to get there. Like, Jinbei's a fucking New World veteran. Like, he's served under multiple Yonko crews. He's been around the block for, like, decades. Like, Jinbei's not, like, this young up-and-comer that's rapidly increasing. By the end of the story, Jinbei is not going to be closer to Mihawk, Like, or a dude stronger than Mihawk, right? A dude stronger than Ryuma, likely by the end of the story. He's not going to be there, right? He's going to be closer to wherever the fuck like Frankie is. Frankie is constantly improving, right? Or not constantly, he hasn't improved that much in the New World, but we can expect more improvements for Frankie, right? Like, he's just scratched the tip of the iceberg in terms of what he can do. He can still do upgrades. Even just last arc, they were talking about, like, well, what if Frankie got like, Sanji was like, a rapidly firing laser? Like, Frankie should have that shit, you know? Jinbei, by the end of the story, is going to be closer, like, the monster trio are going to remain the monster trio by the end of the story. Jinbei is there with them at the moment, but it's not going to be for that long. You look at Robin, pre-time skip. Robin was, at that point in time when she was first sailing with the crew and everything like that, she was portrayed as being around the same as, like, Luffy, Zoro, Sanji. Like, Nami even clumped them all together as, like, you guys are the monsters of the group, or, like, you guys are your own category, etc. She was there with them. She did similar things to them. As the story progresses, it's Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji. Like, come on now. Like, yeah, Jinbei is going to be portrayed as close to them now, because he is close to them right now, but he's not going to grow at the rate that they're going to grow. I think Frankie will grow faster than Jinbei, because, again, Frankie, new to the New World, he's a cyborg, he's improving, he's a young up-and-comer. Jinbei is the dude that's already, like, this is not his first rodeo, this is not his fifth rodeo, this is, like, the dude that's been at the rodeo since the rodeo was created, you know? He's not getting better at, like, doing his shit, at least not substantially better anytime soon. He's not going to unlock Conqueror's Haki all of a sudden. He's not going to unlock Future Sight all of a sudden. He's Jinbei. He is what we get what we got, you know? Let me catch these Cheeky Skull says, what you're saying is Jinbei has peaked. So I'm not going to confidently say that Jinbei has peaked, because I definitely think that he could like create a new move or something like that by the end of the story that he hasn't used before. But I think that Jinbei is nowhere near, like, he's not going to have anywhere near the improvements that someone like nowhere near the improvements that Zoro or Sanji are set to get by the end of the story. Because again, like, by the end of the story, they're going to be two of the most powerful characters in the world alive, period. Right? Like, just in existence. They're just going to be two of the strongest characters alive, period. I don't see Jinbei at the end of the story being stronger than admirals or something like that, right? On the flip side, I think that Frankie is much closer to, like, it's much more likely that Frankie just keeps getting stronger, as he's one of the, young Straw Hats who are going to keep getting upgrades and improvements, and Frankie's a character that is primed to get improvements because he's a robot, therefore so many technological improvements are available to him, especially coming out of Vegapunk's storyline. And just the fact that they even talked about it last arc in Wano, like Frankie taking improvements from Queen. Okay, Thomas Davis, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months, man. Excited for the video, but skeptical how much of this Oda set up as opposed to reusing old ideas, but bigger. Example, don't think Nika was planned at all. Nika will always be a controversial point that I will defend, but I just don't have the energy to do it at this moment in time. But in terms of One Piece and what the One Piece is, I think there's so much that goes so far back that Oda uses consistently that it's unlikely that he's just making this up down the line. And there's things like, if he plants certain things like, let's say, Tequila Wolf, right? That's not just a rant. Like, you can't just say that Oda made this up and then he figured out a way to include it down the line if it also connects with so many other things that Oda planted that we didn't understand at that point in time, like mystery threads that all are connecting in one way, right? I'll just leave it at that. And again, watch next week's video. Maybe that'll help make you feel like some things were just definitely planned. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. Tofi2000, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 17 months. Cool ass chapter. This is why I love One Piece. I wonder how this last words from his friend will affect Borsalino. I am so fucking excited for the next few chapters when we see Kizaru's reaction to all this. Like, what Kizaru is set to do, I don't know. I'm very, very excited because I've been on the train that Kizaru, once he's hearing the message, right? So step one is already happening. Like, Kizaru's listening to the message, right? The message has gone off. My belief is that once Kizaru hears the full message, he will realize the mistake that he has made in killing Vegapunk. And he will realize that the truth about the world government and why he should not be trying to uphold the status quo that is set by these celestial dragons, considering what they're trying to do to the world, what the path they've set the world onto, etc. I believe that he will have a lot of realizations, and I believe that will lead him to take some sort of action. I don't think all of the character writing and triggers that Oda has written into this arc for Kizaru are for nothing. I think there's like no reason. I'm going to leave it at that. Ponty, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. Vegapunk's style. No, we covered this. No, we didn't. Vegapunk's dialogue seems to further imply once again that whether the world government is evil will depend on one's perspective in the end, just like Rayleigh said. I think the world government has never been portrayed as... it has been portrayed as evil, but I think the concept of the world government has never been portrayed as black and white evil. Like, Koala even talks about how they still need a world government at the end of the day, but they just don't want the Celestial Dragons ruling it. And I think that the Celestial Dragons are meant to be viewed as evil at the end of the day. I think they just are. I think that those lines were written for Vegapunk by Oda more so to frame like Kizaru's storyline, things like that. Also, Luffy's definitely going to get the blame for Vegapunk's death at the end of the day. So I think Oda, right? They're definitely... You already know that they're fucking blaming Luffy for this shit, right? Dude, poor Luffy. He's just... he's just wrong place at the wrong time so many different times. It's just like, add one more thing to the fucking rap sheet. Killed Vegapunk. Killed world's smartest scientist. Like, 1 week after, like, all this shit in Wano, Straw Hat Luffy, next action, goes to World Government Island, hub of science and technological progress, kills world's best scientist, moves on. That's just what Luffy's rap sheet looks like. Luffy's rap sheet is so funny if you think about it, just the way the world government likely frames him for everything. But anyway, I do wonder if Oda having Vegapunk add that line, like, please don't blame whoever killed me or whatever. I forget exactly what he said. Like, I don't blame whoever kills me or whatever. It might do a little bit to not make, I don't know, to soften the public's view of Luffy once Luffy gets the blame for it, but probably won't. I don't know. Goomba Boomba, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 19 months. Knowing what we know now, we can make safe assumptions on what the One Piece is. Do you think the hype of One Piece reveal would be lessened or increased with new lore? I think that there have been many, many times that I felt that the community has kind of cracked the full details of what One Piece is. Like, I remember once I read the Destruction of the Red Line theory for the first time, I thought, that's it, man. That's just the story. We get the full picture here. It's it. And then things keep changing and you keep getting new information. And now it's like, okay, I still think the Destruction of the Red Line happens, and I think that's a major part of this, but I think that there's more. I think that a lot of it has to do with the ocean level and water rising and falling and things like that. So, at a certain point, we will hit a point where just the community does solve close to the full picture, but I'd say just the ability for Oda to surprise over and over again can't be underestimated. So I think no matter what, we're never going to get the full picture. There's going to be stuff that happened in the Void Century that surprises us. There's going to be dots that connect that surprise us. Maybe we get a really good idea of it as we're heading into the end game, but I think that we're still going to get enough twists and turns at the right time that it just it will still have impact at the end of the day. All right, let me catch up on supers real quick. What was that? JWP, I feel like everyone's skipping over Bonney using Giantish Future. She actually like Luffy for real, lol. Plus, control CTRL greater than for real. LOL plus CTRL greater than Pacifista. Plus control of Pacifista. Okay, I see what you're saying. If she's not a Straw Hat, she'll still play a big-ass role. I think she's going to be a Straw Hat. I just think Cabin Girl role, it's one that people speculated on for so long. For Momo, then for Tama. She's, like I said, that she's kind of shaped like Luffy's apprentice, essentially, which people, I don't know, pushed back against initially, but I'm just like, no, she's fucking written like a mini Luffy. She's just written like a mini Luffy. And yeah, Bonney using a giantish future, it is insane the potential her devil fruit can have if she just, continues believing. It is very, very, very similar to Luffy's fruit. And it's the perfect fruit for a child to have. Eric Torlato, thanks a lot. They're gimmick merchants. Eric, you've got a talent for just like ignoring, like I gave you like a full explanation. You have a talent for just like ignoring everything that I said and just like repeating the same thing that you already said, essentially. What about, okay, like if they are Zoro and Sanji's final opponents, I agree that some of them, like Saturn, I feel is very gimmicky. But if they are, like, let's say Venus, Juro, and Morj are Zoro and Sanji's final opponents in the entire story, you don't think that makes them two of the strongest characters in the entire world? Like, I don't know. Like, I think that would put them there if that is their role. Maybe that's not their role, but at the moment it seems like it's possible that could be their role, which would place them in that vicinity. Abyssal Leviathan, thanks for the 5. 9 minutes to run around an island, getting blitzed by base Sanji, and now held down by Frankie. by Frankie family victims. This Juro can't stop downscaling the verse. He is not looking good. It is really, really fucking bizarre that he took out half the pacifistas on the island in the first 4 seconds and then spent 9 minutes taking out the other half. Maybe he's more of a sprinter than a marathon runner. Like, he was like, all right, he came in with like super excited to just take out all the pacifistas. He's like, this is my job. This is what we all agree on. Like, I'm going to be the fast guy that runs around and takes out all the pacifista. And he just like runs and then he's out of breath like that. And then he's like, okay, I got 10 minutes. I'm going to I'm going to take it easy for this other half. Let's slow down. He's kind of like he's like Michael Scott in that one marathon 5K episode where he like starts the race like fucking sprinting, and then like a minute in he's like, I fucked up, and then he's the slowest one for the rest of the race. Anyway, yeah, Venus Juro. I think Oimo and Kai, like, at least make it Dorian Brogy. Like, at least have Dorian Brogy come and grab him. It's like Oimo and Kashi. You might as well have, like, I don't know, like fucking Johnny and Yosaku, you know? Just because based on how strong Venus Juro should be, for him, the difference between Oimo and Kashi and Johnny and Yosaku should be like the difference to me between, like, I don't know, like an ant and a beetle. You know what I mean? So the fact that like he's essentially being held down by Johnny and Yosaku, it's not that different. Brook is the GOAT. Morj, I see where you're coming from, but your argument is flawed. It's too late. It's the final saga. In an arc or two, Mihawk is already defeated. Zoro and Sanji are already at their peak, and Jinbei is comfortably close to them. And Frankie, bumass with no hockey, is not even close to the top tiers of the crew. I disagree. I mean, I think we're just not going to agree on this. I think that, like, let me put it this way. At the end of the day, I think Zoro, like, you can say that we're at the end of the story, but I don't think that sets a definitive metric for how close Zoro and Sanji are to their peak, because there's a difference between how far Zoro and Sanji are in their story, right? Like, let's say 98%, versus how far they are from their full potential, because they might get it. Like, think about Luffy and Wano. The amount of power, like yeah, Wano was just one arc, but Luffy at the start of Wano to Luffy at the end of Wano, like how much stronger is he between then to the end, you know? Like, what percentage of his max... Like, Luffy at the start of Wano was probably, like, I don't know, 30% of the person that he was by the end of Wano. A lot can happen in a final arc. I'm more so just projecting where Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, I believe that they'll end up by the end of the story. I think that they'll be both stronger than admirals by the end of the story, and I don't think Jinbei is scratching admirals by the end of scratching admiral level by the end of the story, you know? To me right now, I personally feel like Jinbei is probably what most people would call like definitely, I don't think he's on par with Yonko first mates. He himself made it clear in Whole Cake Island that he is not as strong as Katakuri. He's not Katakuri's level. I don't think he's strong as, like, I feel like third commander or something like that might make sense for Jinbei. Third, fourth, second commander. Like, if you upscale him, maybe second at best. But around that ballpark, right, of lower Yonko commanders. He's not first mate level. He's not admiral level. And you're comparing him to Zoro and Sanji, who I think by the end of the story will be above admiral level, right? I think it's more likely that Frankie gets close to, like, Frankie just beat a Tobi Roppo, right? I think by the end of the story, I think it's more likely that Frankie at the end of the story is close to, you know, someone like like Jinbei than Jinbei is to someone like Mihawk. That's straight up, you know? Like, we're talking about Mihawk Shanks type level. I think it is more likely that Frankie gets to be close to like Jinbei's level, which is around Jack or something like that, maybe a bit stronger, I don't know, than Jinbei gets to Shanks's level, you know? I just think that that's what's more realistic to me. Lucky Man, thanks for the 5. Bonney is so close to Sanji that she can just casually call him by his first name now. Also, her fruit is just whacked. It's basically Nika Light. It is basically Nika Light. That's what makes it so cool. She's just Luffy, but baby Luffy. Mini Luffy. That's who Bonney is. Yeah, I don't know when Bonney got so close to Sanji. When did this happen? I don't personally know. But she was on board the Sanji train even without much interaction with him. Like, they were remember when everyone was like, including me, I was like, wait, Bonney might be the traitor, because as the Egghead final battle, like right before it started, like they all wake up in the morning, they're running out the door, and Bonnie's like, wow, that's Sanji, he's such like he's like a good cook and like a great chef and a great person and everything. And like Luffy was like, why are you acting so weird? And I think everyone jumped on and was like, wait, Bonney might be the traitor, because there's no way that like a woman just randomly starts complimenting Sanji for no reason. At this point in time, we also didn't know Bonney was a child, right? So, I don't know, Bonney was just always on the Sanji train. She just liked him from the start. Jinbei greater than Admirals? Even if Jinbei does get some sort of a power-up, I personally can't imagine it being a power-up that, like, he's not getting Conqueror's Haki, he's not getting like, you know, any of the top tier Hakis. He doesn't really, like, I don't know what the mechanism is for him to get like a huge power-up that would put him above Admirals like Zoro and Sanji, or Admiral level. I think he's just too far off. Like, the closest, I don't know. I just don't see it. I might be underestimating him. You know, I've always not been like the biggest Jinbei advocate, but that's just, I don't know. JWP, thanks for the 5. Mars has the most aura. Oda's giving him main focus on Vegapunk right now. Would you disagree? Also, for the Jinbei wanker, Frankie one-shot a Vice Admiral, so... Okay, so I'll say two things. So Mars does have the most aura right now. I think with Venus Juro, he's still got aura. It's just... Before this chapter, I'd say Venus Juro is the coolest. Venus Juro, I don't know, getting kicked and held down by Oimo and Kashi for a moment, even for a moment, it's not that cool. So I'm gonna say in terms of aura, they're both right there. But I do think in terms of aura, Mars is a bit more. I do have an interesting proposition. That's a video that will come out not this week, but probably next week. Unless I get it out earlier, then maybe it'll be out next Friday or something like that. But something for Zoro and Sanji fans to chew on for the end of the story regarding Mars and Venus Juro that I won't elaborate on here. Frankie did one-shot a Vice Admiral. No, Frankie one-shotting, I put zero credit. Like, as much as I'm hyping Frankie, that doesn't mean... It doesn't mean anything. Frankie one-shotting, Vice Admirals are... A lot of Vice Admirals are not that strong. Again, Bartolomeo low-diffed a Vice Admiral in the bathroom. I don't even know... There's no way to, like... He was literally, like, taking a piss while beating up a Vice Admiral. Like, this is, like, middle school bullying. You walk into the bathroom, you just give a Vice Admiral a swirly, and you leave. Vice Admirals are not that strong. Some of them are strong, like Virgo, you know. I think Smoker is fairly strong, considering he did not do that bad in Punk Hazard. There are Vice Admirals that are strong, like Maynard's the weak one. Onigumo, Mamanga, we've seen strong Vice Admirals, but these chin motherfuckers are not it. Like, I'm not... Like, remember, the only thing you need to be a Vice Admiral, as far as we know, is have Armament Haki. If you have Armament Haki, you're in the running for Vice Admiral. That's basically it. It's not a high bar. So, to be a Vice Admiral, I don't think it means that much, personally. There's just such a wide range. Like, even if you exclude Garp, you have other characters that are Vice Admirals that are clearly very strong based on the Marineford War, but it's not like Frankie knocked out Onigumo or Mamanga. He knocked out some chin dude that we've never heard of. Jesus B, thanks for being a pirate, or not pirate, Yonko tier member for 3 months. Love when you describe power scale haters as monocle wearing in a previous stream. Dude, it's just like, you can't be reading fucking One Piece, which is like, it is at the end of the day a fucking action story about power-ups and superpowers and like devil fruits and hockey. And One Piece is literally, it's a fucking power scaling story. It just is. It is. It is a power scaling story. It is about a boy trying to climb up the tiers of strength to become Pirate King. When he says, I can't become Pirate King in chapter 500 whatever, 580 something, he says, I can't become Pirate King because I'm too weak. That is the fucking lesson that the entire fucking midpoint of the story taught him. Then he trains for 2 years to become stronger, so now he can go back to beating up stronger and stronger bad guys to achieve his dream of becoming Pirate King. You are reading a fucking power scaling based story. That is the way that it is, whether you want to be a pretentious, like, fake pseudo literary professor or not. This is the type of story you're reading. Does the story have a ton of depth and additional thematic writing, character writing, etc.? Yes, but it is all covering up a simplistic core, which is a power scaling story about a boy getting stronger to beat up bad guys. That's all it is. Not all it is, but that's what it is at its core. That's the juicy core of One Piece. If you say you don't care about power scaling, then you must have just not cared about the vast majority of any of Luffy's accomplishments and growth throughout the story. It must have meant nothing to you. Soga King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months. This week's cover is based on chess. 9 Holy Knights plus 5 Gorosei plus Emu equals 15 / out of 16 chess pieces. So it's missing... Oh, wait, shit, hold on, let's slow down. So it's missing one piece, Blackbeard, the King, the Queen, Emu. I'm not going to read into it that deeply. I think that is interesting. I didn't even know that there's 16 chess pieces. I guess that makes sense. 8 and 8. I'm not going to read into it that deeply, but I do think that's interesting. I assume you're saying like the Gorosei are... I just don't know, because, okay, so let's play that for fun, right? Just for fun, let's play that, right? So 9 Holy Knights, let's assume that 8 of them are pawns, and then 1 of them is Figarland Garling, right? So then you're saying 6, so Figarland Garling plus the 5 Gorosei make up 6 of the significant chess pieces. Emu and Blackbeard are king and queen. This is just for fun, right? Based off what you're saying. So, yeah, 5 Gorosei plus Garling, that's like 6 significant pieces. And then Emu and Blackbeard, 2 significant endgame pieces. I don't know. Chris Morales says, I don't care about power scaling, I do care about growth. That's not the same thing at Morj. Dude, all of Luffy's growth, nearly all of it, is just getting stronger. He does have some level of character growth and changing, but you go back and fucking read Marineford, the lesson that it teaches him is that you're not strong enough. You need to go back and fucking train. Like, this story is so power-up fight-based, it's ridiculous to try and act like you don't care about power scaling. All the growth is power scaling. Like, not all the character growth, but like, all of their progression in the story is getting power-ups, right? There's character progression too that matters, but arc to arc, it's mostly them getting their fights, them power-ups, etc. That's like how do you read Wano, which is like fucking, like, what is Luffy doing in the majority of Wano? Is he having some crazy character revelations and growth? No, he spends fucking, like, the dude spends fucking like 2 weeks training armament hockey and udon, not growing as a character, training armament hockey and udon. He goes upstairs to fight Kaido. He's not growing as a character in that moment. He's not having some sudden change or like we're getting a totally different person after he fights Kaido. He's the same fucking person. The only difference is now he's awakened his advanced Conqueror's Haki because he has an aha moment in chapter 10,010. And then after that, he just dies. No character growth. Just wakes up with the Nika fruit. Like, it's a fucking... What the fuck? What are we even talking about here? I don't get it. Soga King, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 4 months. This week we covered this. All right. K-Nerb, thanks a lot. Why the switch up? It's got to be Sanji versus Jupiter. Because Jupiter's ass. Jupiter's ass, man. But I do think that there's something very interesting about Jupiter that isn't being talked about enough, but I'm saving that for a video. Jupiter's ass. I'm on board the Jupiter as a traitor theory at this point. Usoppin, thanks for the 2. Do you think the Grand Fleet is pulling up? Not here anymore. Just because I don't know if they need it. I don't know if they need the Grand Fleet anymore. It's hard to say, because they're kind of just tearing through the Buster Call, and they've got the Giants. I don't know. Ray Uchiha, thanks for being thanks. Never mind. Momonga for Fleet Admiral. I don't know if he's gonna be there, but that's, you know, it's a thing. The Lowman. Thanks for the 2. It's more of an adventure story. No, One Piece is not more of an adventure story. Tintin is an adventure story. One Piece is a straight up action story. Like, the centerpiece that people read. Let me put it this way. You know when people are most bored with One Piece in general? And I see, like, I'm a content creator, so I know, like, I put out videos, I can see when people are most interested, least interested, etc. So when the Straughts are like running around through the seducing woods, that's when like shit like that, which is adventure, that's when people are most bored in the story. When people lock in the most is when a fight's going on. Like Luffy versus Cracker, that's when people locked in and were like, oh shit, now action's happening, right? Luffy versus Katakuri, oh shit, now action's happening. Like Tintin is an example of an adventure story. One Piece is not it is a story that features a lot of adventure, but it is not primarily an adventure story. It's not even primarily an action adventure story. It's primarily an action story which is driven from action piece to action piece through adventure, but it is primarily an action story. The climax to each arc is the big fights that are happening. We're focused on, like every arc is building towards these big-ass fights that happen, right? That's just the way the story is. It's an action story first, not adventure. I think One Piece fans dislike the idea that One Piece gets grouped into action shonen category. It's just like, why? It's really fucking good at writing this type of story. I think it's the best action shonen out there, right? Not necessarily just for the fights, but because I don't think it does fights best, but it is in this category, in this genre of story. It's just the best at it. It doesn't need to be an adventure story to be somehow better than like Naruto or Bleach. It's just better than them because it is. Thomas Davis, thanks for the 5. I kind of assumed Sanji and Zoro would fight the Gods Knights at the end. If Garling is Mihawk level, it tracks. We just need to see the rest. The Gods Knights is an interesting possibility. I guess I was underwhelmed with the Gods Knights just because we saw a little bit of them in the God Valley flashback, and they didn't seem all that impressive to me personally, but, we didn't see that much. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. Let's go Brandon something. I can't see the full name. Oda's writing fell off, so all we have is scaling. No, I disagree. Like, Oda's still we just got the Kuma flashback. Oda's still really, really good at everything. Like, the dramatic stuff, the lore, etc. But at the end of the day, we're reading a story about superpowered characters getting stronger and stronger and stronger to reach the top of a ladder. That's what the story of One Piece is. It's that. Now, it's got so much other stuff. That's the core of the sandwich. It's just got so much other stuff that it's a really fucking flavorful, brilliantly crafted sandwich. But, at the end of the day, it's still like a steak sandwich. At the center, you got some steak. The steak is the fighting. Fighting, getting stronger, yada yada. It's just the best steak sandwich ever made. Caleb, cool guy. Thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 12 months. How many chapters left of Egghead do you estimate? Dude, it's so fucking hard now to predict that. Because we still haven't even gotten the Iron Giant. Remember the Iron Giant started moving like a couple chapters ago and everyone was like, oh shit, it's going to do some shit next chapter. Maybe it was just one chapter ago? I forget. But Iron Giant still hasn't done stuff. We still need Kuma's story resolved. We still need... There's too many little things. I don't know how the fights end or resolve. Is it just skirmishes all the way through? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to predict it. I feel like we still got at least another 10. Maybe we're exiting Egghead around 1025. Oda, as of late, does try and have certain stories wrap at certain milestone point. I don't know. Yeah, maybe around then. Maybe 1025-ish. I wonder if we're over how long he wanted Egghead to be. It's hard to say. All-powerful God Animal, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 13 months. Hey Morj, have you seen Alexander's recent Kaido analysis? It's definitely worth watching. I might watch it at some point, but I haven't sat down and watched like a One Piece video or video essay in, I don't know, God knows how long. Maybe I'll watch it before I do some stuff on Kaido for the Wano analysis, just because it's good to have other perspectives. But at the moment, I'll just say, in my free time, I'm usually not sitting there. I talk about One Piece for so long, because this has come up before, and people have been like, do you watch this guy's video or this guy's video? I talk about One Piece so much for such a large percentage of my weekly life. I'm usually not sitting down to, in my free time, also watch more One Piece content. That's just not me. I used to do that. I think the peak of me watching One Piece content from other YouTubers was before I was a full-time One Piece YouTuber. Because back then it was just, I don't know, it was fun. I didn't talk about One Piece as much, and I wanted to tune in and hear what other people were saying and stuff. I used to watch teching videos all the time. I used to watch Joy Boy videos. I like Super Eye Patch Wolf's One Piece videos. I used to watch like a lot of One Piece type content, and that definitely scaled down after a bit. One Piece ending on chapter 1300. I don't know when One Piece is ending. Let's get the stream likes up to 400 real quick. If I had to guess, right? I think, okay, let's pretend, I think we'll be done with Elbaf and Egghead, like Egghead and Elbaf, by chapter 1200. I think around chapter 1200, we're hitting the arc where we need to find out what the... Fuck, I think... I just don't know. I don't know. Like, I feel like anything beyond 1300 is too insane to think about. You know what? So, like, you know when they were leaving Fishman Island? As they're leaving Fishman Island, I always remember this, right? As they're leaving Fishman Island, they say something like, only halfway more, or something like that. We're halfway there. He says something like that. Shit, where is it? Yeah, no, Brooke says it. Just a bit. So, chapter 653. I still distinctly remember this chapter. Because keep in mind, at this point, when this chapter comes out, I believe I'm towards the end of high school. Starting middle school, starting college, maybe end of high school. I think end of... I'm in high school, I'm pretty sure here. I'm in high school. I am in high school here. I'm definitely in high school. Maybe actually 11th grade or something. At this point, I've been a One Piece fan for like 8 years or something like that. Like, I've been following the series for a long time, right? And they're saying just a bit longer, another half lap around the world. They're basically saying we're halfway there at chapter 653. 653 is already so fucking long. Like, Naruto at this point is, like, not at this point, but Naruto's heading towards its final, like, its closure and everything like that at this point, right? Like, it's just so fucking long. So they're saying another half lap, and at this point, I remember just thinking, like, okay, so they said half, but, like, and I get that there's half of the story left, but it's too much to wrap your head around right then, because you're 653 chapters into the story. It's really fucking long already, and there's so much that you want to just see happen. So it's kind of like, okay, when they're saying half, I'm already assuming, like, no, it can't literally be twice as long as what we already had. They must, like, the second half is going to be shorter, or we'll get to this, like, I couldn't possibly believe that we would get another 600 something chapters of One Piece. I just figured, like, things will move faster in the New World. Things move slower in the New World, almost. Not really, but it fucking feels like they do sometimes, at least back when the story started. It was like, I think because the arcs just got longer. So it was like, okay, we just spent 50 chapters in Fishman Island where the Strides didn't fight anyone interesting. And I know there's more to fights, but at the time, like, we weren't even that interested in the Fishman Island lore because more stuff had to take place for us to really care about Joy Boy and things like that. So we spent 50 chapters in Fishman Island doing next to nothing. That's how people felt at the time, right? Now I respect Fishman Island as an arc. We fought random fodder. So 50 chapters of that just went by, right? You know what happened in the 50 chapters before that? Fucking Marine Ford. Like, the best one, like, the most epic One Piece storyline ever. And you know what happens after this in Fishman Island? Punk Hazard. The arc where they run around for 50 chapters. Again, I actually like Punk Hazard quite a bit. I'm exaggerating a bit for hyperbole. But it's just, shit moves slower. Like, it felt like pre-time skip in 50 chapters, you could get a lot of shit done. You know, like, you could move through the whole Davy Back fight, Long Ring Longland arc, and all of Water 7, essentially, or most of Water 7, and you're on your way to Enies Lobby. It took a little bit longer than that, but, like, it just 50 chapters did more. Like, more shit happened within the span of 50 chapters, I felt back then. Like, Thriller Bark, I don't know, you flew through arcs, kind of. Like, things were just tighter. Like, 50 chapters covers most of, like, half of East Blue. Or all of Alabasta, almost. Whereas now it's just like, yeah, 50 chapters, then another 100 chapters just in Dressrosa. You know how long Dressrosa is, like, actual narrative-wise? One day. Can you imagine spending 100 chapters on a single day? Like, shit just moves slower post-time skip. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but like, I'm just reflecting. When they said, thinking back to my young self when they said another halfway around another half lap and basically saying like halfway more for the story to end. I was like, in my mind, I was like, okay, but Oda set everything up. You know, he set everything up, so it's gonna move faster. So I know it's another halfway around distance wise, but we're gonna end the story by like chapter 1000 or something, right? No, they weren't actually halfway. This was not the halfway point. The halfway point, like, I don't know if they can if Oda can finish this by chapter 1300. I think that they were even fucking wrong when they said halfway right here. I don't know. You know what I mean? Let me catch these supers real quick. The last thing I'll just say is if I have to guess how much more One Piece is left, I would guess, because I'm just like, Elbaf, right? Elbaf, Shanks. Like, even if Elbaf is a tight arc, right? I still feel like it's going to be 40, 50 chapters. So that brings us close to 1200. And then Blackbeard and all that. Let's say all of that. Like, even if you wrap you finish Egghead, Elbaf, and Laughtail by chapter 1200 something, right? Let's be super generous, 1200. Even if you somehow finish all of that shit by 1200, you just can't. You can't in the first place. But let's say you finish it by 1215, 1225 or something, right? In the next 100 chapters, let's pretend that in the next 100 chapters, we're out of Egghead. We go through Elbaf, do all that shit. We go to Laughtail, we fight Blackbeard, and that's ignoring like all the other in-between shit that has to happen with the Revolutionaries and Cross Guild and all that shit and Marines, right? All of this shit takes place with 100 chapters, 1225, and then the final battle against the world government starts. Even then, like, just go back to read Onigashima, the Onigashima battle, from literally the moment that the fight, like from the moment that, from them arriving at Onigashima to the conclusion of the Onigashima battle, just from them arriving, right, to the end, that was 75 chapters. And that's just against, like, the fucking Beast Pirates. And this is going to be, like, the world's largest alliance against the entire world government, right, all the Celestial Dragons, the biggest war, the end of One Piece, so many things coming together. So even if in 100 chapters we've finished Egghead, Elbaf, Laughtail, and Blackbeard, right? We're at chapter 1225, right? Even then, I'm just like, in the next 75 chapters, how do we have this whole alliance situation, war against the world government, etc.? Unless a lot of this stuff overlaps in a certain way, like maybe Blackbeard, world government storylines coincide. I don't know. I can't imagine the story ending at 1300 without Oda rushing some parts of it. I don't know. Maybe closer to 1350. I don't know. All right, let me catch these supers. JWP, Morj, check the clip I sent under this. This clip you sent under this. It's Morj's take on power scaling. I don't see a clip, man. I don't know if you can post clips like that. I don't see a clip, unfortunately. Maybe comment it in the comments of this video or something. Sorry about that. I just don't see it. JP, thank you for the 20, man. I'm more on the train that the Grand Fleet will show up at Elbaf along with Cross Guild and Supernova. The centerpiece will be the Strats versus the Red-Haired, but the larger story will be a big pirate battle royale to resolve most conflicts. I feel like the Grand Fleet showing... But, like, what would be the trigger for the Grand Fleet to show up, right? Because I feel like the Grand Fleet showing up, it has to be for some sort of serious conflict almost, like something that threatens Luffy. Because otherwise, it's like, what is the motivation for them to just show up and travel there? So that's my biggest question with the Grand Fleet. I felt like them showing up here at Egghead would make a lot of sense once the Buster Call was initially... Or once the fleet was initially sent after them and everything like that. I was like, okay, this could be Grand Fleet time. But then the Giants showed up to help them instead. And the Giants seem to be doing a pretty good job. So I don't know how necessary the Grand Fleet is at this point. It's hard to say. Keenan, thanks a lot for the 10. Why does Saturn seem so much weaker than the other Gorosei? You're telling me Nami, Usopp, Brook, and Chopper stopped him from completing his objective? Saturn's a bench warmer. Get him out of the game, coach. To be fair, these same squad of Straw Hats, essentially, give or take a few, they've done some shit to Big Mom that is quite embarrassing. So it's not like nothing. I also think that it helps that Saturn is clearly, out of all the Gorosei, it's very easy to damage him. Like, anything damages him. So they can kind of hold him off maybe momentarily. I just don't know how long that's going to last. As for seeming so much weaker than the other Gorosei, I just think that at least the other Gorosei, it seems like a challenge to take them on physically to some degree. Whereas with, like even with Jupiter, who I think is the next weakest at the moment, seems like the next weakest out of the Gorosei after Saturn. At least with him, like, he can do his giant vortex, which is difficult for Luffy and the Giants to get out of. Like, Luffy had to do a bit of a maneuver at the very least to get out of it. Saturn did shoot his poison balls or whatever, his venom balls, and those were very destructive, but I think because the one time we saw him attempt it, it didn't do, like, it was immediately knocked back at them. I don't know. Saturn just seems like you look at Venus Juro, part of it is just how it feels when you read their competency. It feels like Saturn doesn't really do anything that competent, or anytime he does. The most scary he seemed was when he had all of the straws just frozen, right? But that was before the flashback, so it's been a minute, so it feels like a bit of a distant memory. In more recent times, it feels like he's overshadowed by the other Gorosei. It seems like he gets damaged very easily by pretty much anyone and everyone, like Kuma without any brain, any hockey, whatever, just a normal punch can send him flying, and like bloodied and everything like that. The other Gorosei just feels like there's some more level of, like Mars breaking into the dome and Jinbei being freaked out by his hockey and Lucci being freaked out by his hockey, stuff like that carries a sense of just subconscious impact to the reader. Venus Juro just blitzing all of the pacifistas, etc. It makes him look very competent right off the bat. Even Warkiri recently, like Luffy not being able to damage him with Red Rock, like these are things that just feel cool to see the Gorosei doing. I feel like with Saturn, it just seems as though there haven't been as many moments where he seems competent, I suppose. There's been a lot of moments of him getting damaged and recovering, but now we know all the Gorosei do that, so we don't care as much. So, I don't know. I just think he's supposed to be the weakest of the Gorosei. I just think that's the way it is. JWP, thanks a lot. Thank you, Clip Broke. I can't even send a link if I super. I'm sorry about that, man. Maybe just post it. I appreciate you making a clip out of it. Maybe if you post it in the comments or something, that could be good. Keenan! No, we covered this. Wait, am I deja vuing? We covered the same thing. Oh, Keenan, you posted your comment twice. I'm sorry about that, man. Thank you. Thank you, though. I'm sorry about that. You asked again about why does Saturn seem so much weaker than the other Gorosei. Yeah, I guess your comment posted twice. Sorry about that, dude. I'm sorry. I guess YouTube just eating up some shit. Kunal Dashiwal, thanks a lot. Hi, Morj. Do you think Oda is ignoring Zoro a bit much? Great moments saving Bonney again. For Sanji. Kuma getting back at Kizaru, like these could have been very cool for Zoro, but didn't happen, and now Venus. Thoughts? So I have my thoughts on Zoro and Venus Juro. That will be saved for a following video. Not next week's video, but a following video. So hold off on that. But I also just think that, like, ignoring Zoro a bit much, like, let's keep in mind, the shoe's been on the other foot. Like, Sanji was ignored. Like, the entire battle of Onigashima went on for how long before Sanji finally got involved in a meaningful way? Like, he was trapped by Black Maria and shit for a while Zoro was fighting Kaido and giving him permanent scars on the roof. And like Zoro's cutting up like Apu and shit like that, and he's just getting a lot of moments down below, like fighting X-Drake, blah 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 blah. He's doing a lot of shit. So in Egghead, like, how do I say this? I think Zoro fans can be so used to getting so much shit, like so much content to go off of, that any time that he's not getting much, it can feel like he's getting nothing. So keep in mind, Zoro just finished a fight with Lucci. Like, he just got a full like, so far Sanji's had little moments, like, block Kizaru's beam, come in, kick Venus Juro, but Zoro got like a full-on extended battle with Lucci. Most of it was off-screen, yes, but like he still got like a full 1v1 essentially, right? It's okay if Zoro doesn't show up for a moment, he just got a full fight. So again, I get the off-screen part, but I'm just saying pure amount of content-wise, like, we got a lot more of Zoro fighting an extended interaction with him comparative to Sanji, right? Zoro's had stuff to do. I think at this point people want to see Zoro versus a Gorosei, and I guess that's what the real question is. But to that I say, like, I think the longer that he gets held off from facing a Gorosei, the more cool it could be when, like, we know that at some point Zoro's going to get to face off a Gorosei, probably this arc, at least for a little bit. So I think the longer that that's held off, the cooler we're set up for an entrance for him in that scenario, you know? Abyssal Leviathan, thanks a lot. Zolo fans crying when they had all post time skips, shake my head. Yeah, that's the thing, like, every arc, you know, you're getting shit for Zoro. Like, Fishman Island, Zoro fights Hyozo, yes, but he also got to take out Horty underwater before that. And then in, you know, Punk Hazard, the only characters that get full fights are him, Luffy, and Law, right? Sanji doesn't even get a full fight. Dressrosa, Sanji gets shipped off permanently. Sanji and the rest of the Straw Hats. Zoro gets to fight Pika and Fujitora for a bit and everything, you know? Whole Cake Zoro's not there, but then that's made up for in spades. In Wano, he fights... In Wano, Zoro fights pretty much every other supernova that's there, right? He gets fights against Hawkins, Apu, X-Drake, Killer. He fights every other supernova. Hawkins, Apu, X-Drake, and Killer. Every other supernova in the arc. And then he also defeats King. And he fights Kaido and scars Kaido. So he gets a lot there. And then this arc, we got to see him against, you know, the Seraphim. Even if that wasn't that satisfying, but, like, you know, both Luffy and Zoro couldn't really do that much against the Seraphim. At least not from the things that they used, that they implemented. They didn't do that much. But, you know, you get Seraphim stuff. Then you get a full fight with Lucci. What Zoro fans want is to see him against a Gorosei. So hopefully that happens soon. I do think that we'll get a little bit of that. I feel like the longer we wait on it, the more likely it's going to be something cool. I might be wrong, but I think we'll still get to see Zoro versus a Gorosei at least a little bit. JP, thanks for the 5. If Kaido can get momentarily dunked on by Raizo, then cut Saturn some slack against the Straw Hats. No, that's definitely true, but I think it's the balancing act, right? So, like, I've often brought up, like, look, like, you can shit on Warkiri for getting pushed back by the Giants, but, like Kaido got fucking fucked up by Raizo and stuff, right? But what you need to see is the other way around, too, right? So, Kaido also debuted by taking out Luffy in one shot in Act 1, right? So Kaido already is, you know, like, he's already firmly established for the reader as, like, extremely strong. Like, he's done a feat that was, at the time, like, the most impressive feat in the entire story, right? I don't know if you guys recall, but at that point in time, people weren't really sure what the gap between, like, a first mate and, like, the Yonko themselves would be. Nobody was expecting Luffy getting one shot. Like, people expected that Kaido would wreck Luffy, but a straight-up one-shot was unheard of. That hadn't happened in the story to Luffy ever before, and not to Luffy after he had gotten all of these power-ups, like Gear 4, its Future Sight, etc., right? So nobody was expecting Kaido to just, like, casually one-shot him in base. So, again, once you establish how strong a character is and leave such a powerful impact on the reader, then, you know, like, then having other characters, like, get their shots in against him and have their good showings and their good moments, it doesn't take away too much from this hyped up character, right? It's more like, okay, it's cool that now the Scabbards are able to find a way to get their own hits in, but then Oda also quickly readjusts, and once he lets the Scabbards get their shots in, then he has Kaido turn the switch on, and then he defeats the Scabbards, etc. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing if, like, a character has great showings and then some like poor showings that are used to hype up other characters, versus when a character is introduced and we're still trying to figure out how strong they are, and they mostly have a lot of moments that they don't look that good or they look vulnerable. Yes, Saturn's regenerating, but we don't have that other end of things where, like yeah, Kaido got damaged by Raizo, but Kaido also one-shot at Luffy in Act 1. Like, he already has, like, one of the most iconic, most impressive moments in One Piece that's still fresh in our brains. Like, we can feel how strong Kaido is and how intimidating he is, because that's been established. With Saturn, I think that the pendulum is right now much more skewed towards, okay, Bonney shows up and damages him. Kuma, with no brain and no haki, shows up and, like, basically, like, sends him flying across the city and, like bloodied and all that shit. The Saturn, Frankie, everyone can kind of deflect him in some way. Luffy immediately fucks him up. you know, like, it's just a long, and now it's basically on top of Luffy. It's like Chopper, Usopp, and Nami are kind of holding him off. Brook are holding him off for the moment. It's all excusable stuff because it's like he regenerates from all that. We get it. It's cool. Yes, we've seen the weaker Strats even like have some success against Big Mom. But what we're missing is the other side of things where it's like, okay, and here's this moment where Saturn does this really, really impressive thing. Like he, I don't know, like fucks up Zoro or Sanji or Luffy or something like that. You know, that's still kind of missing. So we're mostly just like got a long string of like, okay, this happened to him, and then this happened to him, and then this happened to him, and then this happened to him. And he's all okay for the most part, but he's not doing anything to really impress. You need to do the other side of things. Like, you need to impress before, otherwise the excuses just kind of keep stacking up, you know? Anyway, I know that was a long tangent, but I'm just like, also just thinking out loud to myself, like, yeah, why does Saturn not seem that impressive to me? Lucky Man, thanks for the 5. 250 chapters means another 7 to 8 years at the current rate of 30 chapters per year. Do you see yourself falling off / stopping making videos before then? Falling off is funny because like I can't, like I'm not going to predict that or not predict that. Like falling off or stopping making videos before then. I don't know about falling off, right? As for stopping making videos before then, for the near future, I'm going to keep making, like, this is, for the near future, I'm making videos. I don't know where the series will go, like where my life will go, etc. But I do I do want to be there for One Piece's end. You know what I mean? Like, I do want to be producing videos and everything for One Piece's end because that's just the most exciting part of the story. So in some part of me, I'm like, I hope that the series, like, we get to the finish line faster because, like, I want to be a part of that, you know? At the same time, it's just like 7 to 8 years, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't want Oda to rush the story. 7 to 8 years does seem really, really long. Like, I have no idea what the future holds. In my current plans, I'm still doing this. I'm doing the channel, etc. Falling off, like, I'm going to say this just straight up, which is like, there's only been one moment in time where I was like, wait, I'm a little bit worried. Like, what if the channel like, what if people are no longer interested in watching my videos or something like that? That was during the post raid fail segment, I guess. Like post raid not failing period, right? Post that, I was just like, because I didn't really even think about this stuff because I was so confident. I was just like, no, the raid has to fail. It's just it's perfect for the, like, it will save, at least in my mind, Wano. I was just like, they can't win here, right? I was just like, so certain of that, I genuinely wasn't thinking too much about, like, what if it doesn't happen? I was like, well, if it doesn't happen, it'll be fine, right? But when it didn't happen, I was kind of like, I did go into a mode of, like, at least for a little bit, I was like, wait, what if this is, like, what if, like, people just don't want to watch me anymore or something like that? Funnily enough, you know what happened? The after the raid didn't fail, my viewership went higher. It picked back up more than, I guess, like what it was during the final stretches of the Wado climax. I guess people were just tired of hearing me talk about the raid fail. So it, like, that segment of things being over with did actually it was actually turns out it had the opposite effect of what I was worried about. So I don't know. So in terms of falling off, I think that the one period of time that I was worried briefly that, like, wait, what if people won't want to, like, watch my content anymore or whatever, I was actually on the complete wrong end of the spectrum on that. So that's not something I'm worried about. So more so, like, how long do I want to keep making videos? For me, I would like to be a part of the end of One Piece. That's all I'll say. But when it comes, what the future holds, who knows? Anyway, moving on. Oh, hate watchers, drama spike. That's possibly true. That's possibly true to some, but, like, it was, how do I say this? It was I'm not talking about, like, a brief spike like that. I'm talking about, like, a general basically increase in viewership for like that period onwards. Like, you can actually probably go back and check out videos from from Wano's ending basically on onwards, and that you can notice like an increase from the videos I had like during the final chapters of Wano. So a lot of the comments that I was seeing were like, now that we're past the raid failing, we can, like, I'm interested. Like, that was the vibe I was getting more. There were some hate watchers, but that was like the immediate spike. But in general, it was like an increase. But I think a lot of viewers had stopped watching me just because they were sick of the raid fail stuff, and then they came back because we were past that. So I don't know. Lesson learned there a little bit. I thought that was funny. I was just like, I thought it was funny because I was just like, what if people don't want to watch me anymore because I was wrong about this? And instead it was like, all right, a lot of people were like, yeah, we're back because you're done talking about that shit. I'm like, okay, sorry. Where were we at? JWP, thanks for the 10. I watch reactions to One Piece when I watch the GFSM is always overlooked. I don't even know how to fucking comprehend your abbreviations here. The GFSM is always overlooked. Oda went out of his way to say Tier going to do something crazy. I always thought they would do something without Luffy. The Grand Fleet is always overlooked, okay? That's what you're saying. Thoughts on what they'll do. I don't know. The one worry I have is that the Celestial Dragon incident that they had on Marishwa, that was the big incident that was hyped up at the end of Dressrosa. I hope that's not the case because I don't think that was that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. So I think we'll have to wait and see, but I don't have a good theory as to what the Grand Fleet might do. Maybe, I think one of the coolest things would be if Luffy's somehow captured and they come in to save him, but I don't know. Yeah. Ender Anime says the real ones never left. Yeah, like the majority of my viewership was still watching. I would say basically what I experienced was like there was a 10 to 15% of people that seemingly were regular viewers of mine that kind of stopped watching me for some period of time because I annoyed them too much with the raid failing stuff. And then once the raid stopped, like once that section of the story passed, then they basically came back. So I was like, sorry I annoyed you guys. But I'm happy that you're back is basically the way it kind of felt. Yeah, and I think in terms of growth too, growth increased again just after the raid fail stuff because people who didn't want to try me before because they weren't interested in raid fail stuff were now more open to new material. It's just the way it was. Keenan says, nah, YouTube didn't mess up. I oopsied and sent it twice. I'm sorry about that, man. JWP says Grand Fleet statement. I don't know when they're going to show up. Like, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't have a good guess. Because I felt like it was Egghead. But Egghead, it seems like, doesn't demand them. So now I'm like, Final War? Is that maybe when it's going to happen? Flame of the Spirit, thanks for the 5. People hated on Morj's raid fail theory, not because of what Morj himself did, but because of the people who believed and spammed the theory. We could break down a lot of what it was, but I do think a lot of it is just driven by like a lot of people who didn't vibe with the arc were proponents of the raid fail theory, and so that like the theory itself became a bit of a point of conflict in terms of general opinion of the arc, and it almost probably hurt some people's enjoyment in terms of like people who were enjoying the arc. And a lot of people being very aggressive with like, no, this isn't even it. And then, you know, I think even if you don't even feel a strong way about it either way, it's like if you're trying to enjoy the arc, but a lot of people are saying that, no, this might not be the end or like whatever. It might make you feel a certain way like, wait, fuck, is this not the end of the arc or something? Like, how am I supposed to feel? Am I supposed to be enjoying all this? Like, are these the final fights? Things like that. So I think it created a lot of, I don't know, just, it played into a lot of like, opinions about the arc beyond just whether like what you think will happen, and it led to a lot of division. So it's just I understand that it spiraled into something really big. I don't really know what else to say about it other than you know, I believed in it, so I wasn't going to stop saying it, but I don't think that there was any malintent there. I don't know, but I can understand people taking it, running with it, etc. And I've been vocal. Like, I did not think that Wano is a good arc with the trajectory that it had because I felt like it lacked a concrete midpoint. Concrete midpoint, concrete midpoint, tension, narrative structure, a lot of things for characters, a lot of character writing in general. thematic messiness. I don't know, like a million things that I felt necessitated basically them not succeeding that easily, basically. Kanal Deshawal, thanks a lot. I think you're misunderstanding my point. I'm not talking about the fights. I'm talking about his character. Maybe some conflicts if he sees Kuma meeting Bonney, etc., because I think it's been missing since time skip. Let me see what you said before. Oh, is Zoro ignoring... Oh, I see. Is Oda ignoring Zoro? I do think that, yeah. I don't think ignoring Zoro. I just don't know what... I don't think Oda has a clear idea of, like, what to write. So, like, pre-time skip, there was always material to write for Zoro because he was growing in multiple ways, right? He was growing in the sense that he was becoming less of a lone wolf and taking up more of a position as Luffy's right hand, vice captain of the crew. You can see a lot of changes in terms of like how close he's becoming to the crew, how he's taking this responsibility as being this pillar of the Straw Hat Pirates, and you can see that change from chapter 1 through stuff like Alabasta, through stuff like Eni Slobby and Water 7, of course, and then finally culminating in Thriller Bark. You can see him getting humbled and having to change himself and like change his direction and change his perspective on his dream multiple times, with that happening with his first encounter with Mihawk in Baratier, of course, and then concluding with him bowing to Mihawk and asking him for help right before the time skip. Like, there was just more areas for Zoro to clearly grow that Oda had to work with pre-time skip. Post-time skip, I don't know what area Oda's having Zoro grow in, if at all, right? Like Sanji, Oda's had clear ideas of how to grow his character, right? I think there's a stark difference in that pre-time skip, Sanji's character didn't really grow beyond Baratier. It was pretty static, and that was kind of the point. And then post-time skip, Oda had a lot of ideas for him. On the other hand, like, you know, even characters like... I think in general, the Straw Hats' writing has not been as strong post-time skip, but I do think in particular Zoro stands out just because we got used to him having meaningful character conflicts and moments of growth pre-time skip, and now it's just like, I'm the king of hell, and that's his growth. I don't know. I do get what you're saying there. I don't think it's ignoring him as much, because it's like, he clearly likes writing shit for Zoro quite a bit, but it's a lot of shit that is more so like a little shallow and one-dimensional, and it's just kind of geared towards making Zoro look badass. Like, you know, like him shit-talking Hyozo and calling him a little frog in the well in Fishman Island. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then we get to Punk Hazard, and it's kind of the same thing. It's like looking down on Monet as being so weak, and like, I can casually stomp you. I'm so badass. It's like, okay, that's cool. And then we get to Dressrosa, and it's something pretty similar against Pika, which is Zoro just looking down on his opponent. I'm so strong. You're so weak. Your skills are nowhere near enough. Yada, yada, yada. He just cuts them all up, and he does it easily. It's like, okay. Then Wano, which was primed for Zoro to have some sort of actual character stuff, and a lot was kind of written in Act 1 and Act 2 that could have been built off of, that seemed like it was shaping up to something. I'll always say that the King fight, while a good fight in isolation, doesn't really have anything to do with Zoro's character writing before the King fight in Wano. Seems almost irrelevant to any of that. And it doesn't really cause him to grow in any sort of new way other than figuring out how Conqueror's Haki works. So, I don't know. And then we're in Egghead, and again, there's not really any actual growth for Zoro, even though he's getting cool moments. And like, a lot of it is basically, what's the cool new Zoro moment of the week? Like, oh, Zoro stopped the Mihawk Seraphim from attacking, and like shit-talk the Mihawk Seraphim is like, I don't know, like shit like that happening. I don't know. I do think some more character writing for Zoro would be good and could definitely be used nowadays. Thomas Davis, thanks for the 5. How worried are you about the plot lines Oda set up that won't be delivered on by the end? I think the Grand Fleet might be at that point. I don't think the Grand Fleet is at that point. I genuinely think that just looking at the way that Oda's writing right now, I really, really feel that he is, like, I feel more confidence than ever in Oda's full coherent vision right now than I have at any point in the last, like, 200 chapters. I just do. because of the way that he's handling so many threads. Like, looking at the way that he's been writing the Marines and everything that's going on there with all these characters from Kobe to Garp to Aokiji, the Blackbeard Pirates setup, the way the Gorosei and the Imu and the world government are taking place, the storylines that's taking shape for the revolutionaries, everything, like, it seems like he's not just like, the way all these threads are moving in clear directions and kind of building towards certain things, it's just like, no, he knows what he's doing. Like, all the little things, like getting Caribou to this point, so now the Blackbeard Pirates can get to him, and now they know this stuff, which can probably play into the Wano cover story that's happening right now. He's like, this is the stuff that I feel the most confident in, because this is the endgame stuff that Oda has had the most time to plan out, right? Like, when Oda's getting to an arc like Wano, now he's setting the table with all these new characters, all these plot lines and everything, right? Like, and he's probably not thinking that much about Wano when he was writing, like, Punk Hazard or something. Like, he probably had the broad strokes, but, we know certain things. Like, he changed the number of scabbards from, like, 4 all the way to 9. Like, he's still, like, once he gets to the individual arc, he really has to work out all the details. But the endgame stuff, the final saga that we're in, to me, it feels different, because this is the stuff that Oda will have had in the back of his head that he's been thinking on for so fucking long. Like, just going back to look at Sabaody, right? If you go back and look at Sabaody, the Kizaru, Kuma, Sentomaru, and like Sentomaru being Vegapunk's bodyguards, like all of these little details, like the connections there, if you go back and just read that, it is fucking mind-blowing to think that, like, no, he was setting up for this storyline between these characters, this same cast of characters, all the way back then. So to me, I think this is the section of the story where I have the most confidence that Oda has everything set up the way he wants and is going to connect close to everything, because this is the one storyline that's been being built up and thought about and fleshed out for the longest, It's not like he's getting to the final saga and is like, all right, now how do I wrap everything? It seems to me to be more like all of the little moves that were being set up way back when that we didn't know about, he did already have an endgame plan for them, right? So it's totally different than like him starting like I would have more worries if we get to the Elbaf arc and within that small arc there's like storylines or whatever that feel like a little bit rushed or a little bit sloppy. I think a good comparison I would give is like in Egghead. So all of the broad scale stuff that's happening this arc, like connecting Kuma's backstory, Bonney's storyline, fleshing all of that shit out, right? That's been amazing. The stuff that's been planned since all the way back when, since Thriller Barks and Sabaody, right? The stuff that felt sloppy to me in the Egghead storyline is the stuff that's kind of like the Egghead specific stuff, like stuff that Oda probably was kind of thinking up more recently, once he got to the Egghead arc itself. So for example, like the Egghead like mystery storyline, like trying to figure out who the bad guy is. Like that's when the arc kind of dragged and we felt like it kind of rushed the middle section or whatever. I feel like anything that's individual island arc storyline specific, like, I doubt that Oda had this whole mystery storyline fully thought up like a decade ago, That's probably some shit that he mostly thought up to be like a fun inclusion once we hit Egghead. So it's not as planned, so it feels a little more sloppy and rushed, right? But the big shit, like the world of One Piece is going to sink under the ocean, Kizaru, Sentomaru, Kuma, Bonney, all of their, like Vegapunk, their storylines, the shit that he clearly was setting up from like decades ago, that's the stuff that's going off very cleanly right now in this arc. So I can almost, I feel like there's a clear division between obvious things that he's been setting up for a long time that he's finally going to get to let play out, which means that they're going to be very well thought out and well executed, versus like on the fly sort of like, let's hit this arc and let me throw in these new ideas or play with these new little experimental things or whatever that are going to make things feel like a little bit more bloated or a little bit rushed or sloppy. So I have high confidence in him checking off almost everything that has been set up in this final saga, everything that's been set up over a long period of time. Things that I think could be sloppier are things that like he starts writing in within the storyline itself as it goes. You know what I mean? Like things that he probably didn't plan from way back when. I'm not sure if I'm being very clear, but basically anything planted from a long time ago, I think that's going to be gold and play out very well. Anything that seems like storylines that maybe he's kind of thinking up more recently or whatever, in the natural flow of writing his new arc, I think that stuff might be a bit dicier. That's at least what I've observed with Egghead. I think in the Wano arc, I feel like the same thing, like stuff that Oda planned probably for a long time, like Nika and like the Laugh Tale reveal and like all that stuff. That stuff feels very, very smooth and well thought out. And shit like the Scabbard storylines, which we know Oda kind of came up much later with. And like lots of little storylines that took place in Wano, and I'm betting fucking Yamato. Yamato's at my top of my guesses as like shit that Oda came up with way, way, way later. That stuff all feels very sloppy to me. That's just my observation from like recent arcs. So yeah, long-term stuff I think Oda's gonna pull off perfectly, close to perfectly. Like if we hit Elbaf and like Oda's trying to include some new shit, like some random new storyline with the Giants that he probably didn't think of that clearly, I think that's the stuff that might be messier. JWP, thank you again for the 5 gifted. Holy shit, man. I really, really appreciate it. I am going to be calling stream pretty soon, so I appreciate going out on this. Yokai Gota, The Joe, Gabe Sylvester, Megazard, and Mariana Bello. Everybody say thank you to JWP. I really, really do appreciate it, man. JWP, oh, you posted something and the message was deleted by Keenan. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I don't have you as a moderator already. I don't know what Keenan deleted necessarily. I'm sure that it was a good decision, but I am gonna, make you, like JWP, you gift so much to this channel. I'm surprised I don't already have you as a moderator. I'm gonna make you a mod. I don't know what the message was that was deleted, so I'm sorry about that, but I also trust that Keenan probably deleted whatever needed to be deleted, so I don't know, but I do think you've come through and done so much for the, I don't know, I feel like you should also be a mod, so I'm just going to make you a mod as well. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. For me, the raid fail theory took the wind out of Kaido's defeat when reading the Bajron gun part. I was not as excited. BTW, did you cover my last chat? I think I did. Yeah, and like that's a thing. And like I'm sorry about. Well, I'm not like actually sorry about that, but like I'm sorry about that in the sense that like I'm sorry that happened because like I was just saying what I believed and I was trying to persuade people. So that is like let me make sure I'm not missing too many things here. I don't know if I covered that. Yeah, and like that's the thing. Like I think a lot of people were upset because I did get a lot of people, like I did convince a lot of people on the raid fail thing, which hurts your enjoyment of the finale of the story if you're like going into the finale of the story and you don't know if it's the finale of the story and like you feel conflicted, like how much should you be emotionally invested in this? So I do think that that's unfortunate. Bassam, your previous comment was maybe the end of One Piece lets every character give up their lives for a better world. I did cover this. I covered this earlier in the stream. And I covered the Majin Buu comment as well. I covered everything as far as I can tell. As far as I can see here. Morj raid discussions. Thanks a lot. I feel like since Wano ended, I can't take anything serious anymore in the series. Vegapunk's head, Gear 5th against Kizaru and Gorosei, etc. I think Vegapunk's head is good. I don't know about the examples you gave, Gear 5th against Kizaru and Gorosei. I don't know about the examples you gave, but I don't know. I've been enjoying the current arc quite a bit. Even if I didn't enjoy the previous arc, I've really been enjoying the current arc quite a bit. This is like literally... Oh, Keenan says, I accidentally hid JWP's super chat and have no idea how to get it back. I told him to send it to me so I can post it or just put it in chat and I'll look out for it. Okay, that's what happened. I was like, damn. Well, JWP, I made him a mod just in case. So let's see what you got. What's your comment? JWP, yeah, I guess just comment your comment again and then we'll probably end stream on that. Like you don't have to super obviously, just comment it in the normal comments. Miss Meinstein's Evil says Yamato reads like a gag character, a really annoying one. I mean, that's because Yamato is a gag character if you compare to Yamato and Bartolomeo are written close to the fucking same in that it's a cartoonish motivation where, like, they're basically obsessed fans. Yamato's actually more delusional than Bartolomeo, but they're basically obsessed fans that don't have any real like story-based motivation of their own. It's just that like they heard some other shit. Like Yamato heard about Luffy and how cool Luffy is, so Yamato's convinced that Luffy is like God's gift to man, and she's like all in supporting and cheering on Luffy from the moment that she meets him, and is just obsessed with how great Luffy is off the bat. And that's the same as Bartolomeo, right? Except the difference is that Bartolomeo is treated as like a gag character because the motivation is so delusional and shallow, but Yamato, it's written like a real character. And I guess the one differentiating point is that Yamato's given the most rushed and basic backstory ever, which is like, oh, Kaido was mean to me, and like my dad, like I was in chains as a kid, right? Like, which could be a really good backstory if time is spent on it, right? But instead it's just like, here's your perfunctory backstory. So now your character introduced right at the end of the arc, and you just love Luffy so much and are obsessed with him and want to join the crew because you've just heard something good about him, right? You've just heard good things about him, right? Oh, and also you're a huge fanboy of Odin because you read his diary, right? It's basically Bartolomeo's writing, but copy and pasted onto a serious character that never learns or grows. And what's funny is that Bartolomeo actually probably is better writing because he does have a moment of growth at the end of Dressrosa, right? Like he does, like if you read his fight with Gladius, there's some character writing there at the end of it. There's some growth there. Yamato doesn't have that. So I don't know. Like to say she's written like a gag character, it's not only it's true, because the character that is closest in writing to Yamato, period, is Bartolomeo. It's just she's closest in writing to Bartolomeo. That's basically the closest character comparison you can find. It's just the way that Oda frames it is that, well, this one you're supposed to take seriously, but then this one's more of a joke. I don't know. Ikioi no Rafa, thanks a lot for last stream. Checked Zoro's Japanese, and he basically says, I'm going to become... Oh, this is important. So we're going back to the very beginning of One Piece. The very beginning of One Piece where... we're kind of debating last stream, like, what does Zoro becoming the world's strongest swordsman mean? Because he says, in the previous translation, he said, I'm going to become the world's strongest swordsman, so strong that even heaven will know my name. Which I was like, okay, does that suggest that Morj is supposed to not count among the world's strongest swordsmen? Because heaven, like Morj is always framed by Oda to be as like heaven, like something above earth. So he says, I'm going to become the world... This is the actual translation by Ikkyu no Rafa. So thank you very much. I'm going to become the world's strongest swordsman in order for my name to reach the heavens, implying he's doing it to reach Kuina. Okay, so that's the correct translation, and that makes a lot of sense. I do wonder, still, in Oda's perception of the world, is he doing like a bit of a loophole where he's like, and the heavens, like Morj is the literal heavens in One Piece, where... like separate from what Zoro is saying, period, right? Ignore what Zoro is saying, we get that that's for Kuina, right? But I'm wondering in general, does World's Strongest X apply to Morj in every case? I'm still inclined to say yes, Mihawk is the world's strongest swordsman. I just think it's something interesting to think about. JWP, thanks, holy shit, thanks again for the 5. Thank you very, very much. We are going to call stream soon, but I do appreciate that yet again. Tomahawk PWPT, Platinum Fox, Billy Bob, Andrew Baker, and Red Agrid. Everyone say thanks to JWP. JWP Super was, you've been my favorite One Piece YouTuber since 2019. Got into One Piece in 2017 and 18, and watched the full anime, and got into teching, found you, read manga, got really into it, stayed till the end. Thanks so much, man. Holy shit, 5 years. You've seen a lot in that time. That is crazy. I feel like 2019, maybe Whole Cake was still going on even, or just rapping, or maybe Wano was just starting. It's hard to say. But damn, you've been through it. Yeah, I really, really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate the support, man. Always happy to see you come through my streams. And yeah, just thanks a lot. All right, everybody. All right. Yuka Bazooka says she has Ace's spirit. That's the thing. Like, to me, it's just like, you make up a character out of the blue at, like, the final battle of the arc, and you're like, here's half a chapter of her talking to Ace, and now it's like, and that's it. You get half a chapter of her talking to Ace, and now from here on, she's just a character to stay. And it's like, is this supposed to carry weight? Like, is this supposed to move me or something like that in some way? Like, am I supposed to be like, wow, Yamato, carries the spirit of, like, this character we never fucking heard of, who's never kind of hinted at or anything like that, basically, like, just written in, carries the spirit of Ace. Like, let me put it this way. For me, even Sabo as an inclusion, even though we kind of got some soft hints about Sabo, the 3 cups and everything like that, Sabo as an inclusion, like a brother that grew up with Luffy and Ace, who was already really close with Ace, right? Who they had this whole elaborate backstory together, this whole individual storyline, all of that together, even eats Ace's fruit. Even then, for me, Sabo feels like a little bit of a contrived and forced character. But I do feel like, okay, Oda wrote him in to carry the spirit of Ace. You did all of this writing stuff. I kind of buy that. Yamato's just like, here's 4 pages. She talked to Ace. She liked Ace. OMG. She carries the spirit of Ace. What? Oh, and she carries the spirit of Odin. Why? She read his diary, and she's now obsessed with him, but not in a joke way, even though sometimes it's portrayed as a joke, but it's still very serious. She thinks she's Odin. I just don't get it. Oh, and she's obsessed with Luffy. Why? Because she heard about it from Ace. Remember those 4 pages when she talked to Ace? Yeah, that's her entire character, basically. Feel for this character. Treat this character seriously. What? This is the most shallowly written character in the entire 1,100 chapters of One Piece. It is insane. All right. We're going to call stream right about here in the next 2 minutes. All right. I think I'm just going to call it here. All right. Yeah, just making sure no missing things. I think I got everybody. All right, everybody. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Look forward to next week's video. Do not miss next Tuesday's video. It is a big one. If you are interested, obviously, with Vegapunk talking about the world being under the sea, I already did this video 8 months ago talking about the One Piece world being under the sea. Watch out for next Tuesday's video. I think it connects a lot of these pieces. Thank you all for watching, tuning into this one, and yeah, just watch out for next Tuesday's video, and I will talk to you all later.